and black rock. Projects, Trish whipping that black hard. I'm just saying, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave her, it's back to the start. Right to job, switch to sex, not the boxing girl. Yo, my mental vision, setting up intuition, and you really don't have nothing if you intuition. I work with light just to give birth to life. I was born in all forms in the perfect night. The black god got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the start. I am the ruler, just like the lion and Judah. My third eye feels like an iron computer that's dark matter and deep thought making your heart shatter. I sleepwalk, talking with smart chatter, so I don't need you to ride or die with me. I got ancestors that vibe from the other side with me, and they beam up life after death. We got noses on our eyes, cause the light suppress my priceless flesh. The final copy looks like Anunnaki, like God. Got big lips and black bra in the projects. Trish is whipping that black car. I'm just saying, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard got big lips and black bra. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Right to job lives with jewelers and girls. It's X nines if I girl. Yo, the black guard got big lips and black bras in the projects. Trish is whipping that black car. My rhymes the same. My skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James, that nigga's a black card. And you wonder why we spit lead. Just the old raps, niggas got big heads. Like old men, way that I'm writing is more than vain. This is the age of enlightenment, freedom more than Spain. Now that your honor, I pray to a black vagina. Even the Pope pray to the black Madonna. In the sun, I shine as bright as I be. I'm the greatest of all time, like Muhammad Ali. When I die, baptized in the fire. Only flash night, black skies are higher. Brighter job, my lives with jewelers and girls. It's sex lines, fire, rule the world, rubies and pearls. Black God, got big lips and black bra. In the projects, Trish is whipping that black car. I'm just saying, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard got big lips and black bra. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Right to job lives with jewelers and girls. It's X nines if I girl. Yo, the black guard, infinite to infinite stars. It's infinite light. My life's got an infinite charge. The instruments that implement to get a strength in your heart. The temple within the imprint, mimic the art into the dark. The dragon spark the phantom from a higher consciousness. I talk with atoms. I live in the land, and I live in the stars. Original man. I am the image of God. Common touch, uncommon. I cut diamonds, so as long as I live, nothing can stop shining. You gon' need to be in the biz to drive me crazy. Live on CNN, hearing cries from Haiti. You know the people down there trying to hide the babies. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. Black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. I turned you all of my pennies. I turned you all of the wicked of all time. Peace, 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 peace. You're now rocking to the sound of your boy Ahano Kiel, aka A1, aka Tantrums One. Just give me 1 second, peoples. I'm trying to fix my headset. Peace of guys, peace of goddesses, man. Can y'all hear me? Press 1 if you guys can hear me. Press 2 if you can't. You, mic check, mic check. All right, bet. Look, I did a video on this years ago, right? But I just want to kind of add something to it, which I just actually found out within the last couple years, and I just wanted to just connect the dots for the most part. So just bear with me, people, because we want to share the screen as usual. All right, so look, it's the build I did. Somebody put on their Pinterest page,
years ago, right? I did this one probably about 6 years ago. The Gulle, Yamasee, and Seminoles are the same Aboriginal tribe, but this time I added the Timucua to it, right? Because the Timucua is very interesting. Definitely, they have a very interesting history that's never talked about, and they never cross-reference all of these tribes together. They make you think that these tribes are all this, and they all will be Muskogean tribes. They all will be the Muskogans. So we're gonna get into a little bit of. I got a video I want to play, and this is by a European. So listen to what she's saying, and just what don't apply, let it fly, and what does apply, just add that on to your history or what you already know thus far. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. So let's go here. And matter of fact, you know what? Before we get into it, I got something else I want to add. Hey, where's my? All right, here you go, right here. So we always want to add this to it. And this is once again from the General Education Board. This was an article that was published August 28th, 1920 in Montclair, New Jersey, right here. And this is per Frederick T. Gates, vision is cited in report advocating elimination of Rockefeller boards or the General Education Board, right? So this is what they had to say about your current education systems and the pupils who's actually being educated by them. This is what they think about you. All right. So boom. Frederick T. Gates, when president of the Rockefeller General Education Board, in their publication known as Occasional Paper Number One on page 6 says, in our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. Okay, now you know how I like to do. So for people who may not understand exactly what docility means, let's go ahead. Docile. So docility, the docility would be just the suffix, but docile would be the actual root word, right? So it says what? Easily taught, right? Easily taught, right? It says easily led or managed, right? So when they had the idea, you being educated through the educational system, it had a mind control aspect to it, meaning easily led and easily be controlled and programmed, right? So let's go back into this real quick. All right, so that's the article right here, and this is what it says, right? But we're gonna go to the other one. Let me see. Hold on. I know I got this shit in. All right, here you go, right here. So this is an article I like to use. 1920 Rockefeller goals to mold you haven't changed, right? So, and this is look. It say dreams of a Montclair man. That was the article, and this is the 1828. This is the article that someone read about that actually probably found that article or that newspaper clipping, right? From 1920. So all right, so it says, we shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, and men of letters. Now, I know a lot of people probably thinking right now, well, look, we do got scientists these days, right? We got scientists, we do have certain scholars, We do have what you call philosophers, right? But all of their so-called talking points and education came from them. So as long as they was the people who was writing the narrative to what the philosophers, the men of science per eugenics, right? The eugenics program is what made your modern science. And I'm not saying modern science wasn't derived from the ancient people, right? Which is us, right? But they create and control a lot of these narratives, which a lot of the science ain't absolute because they have never even done the actual experiments. They are still in um a theory stage of the scientific method, right? So it says, poets of men of letter, we shall not search for embryo. It's saying great artists, painters, musicians, nor shall we cherish even the humbler ambition to rise from among them lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have ample supply. So I know you're saying, well, damn, there are politicians, right? There are statements, right? There are lawyers, there are doctors, but in a lot of them cases, them people are pseudo. You know, we know a lawyer sell you out, a lawyer try to get you to cop out. Some lawyers do fight your cause as long as you can, right? You got some doctors that may heal you, um, you know what I'm saying, but ultimately have you on medicine or medication for the duration until they feel as though they want to take you off, right? We got preachers, people preaching about Jesus Christ, and up here picking different verses out of the so-called Bible and just spurging that onto the people, and the people is taking it literally, right? Politicians, we see we got politicians, we got Democrats that sell us out, that basically get us to acquiesce to them bringing immigrants here, and the immigrants doing better than you, and then it just so many depths even with that shit, right? Statesmen, we know what that is, right? So we know that this is what they wanted to stop. So when they wanted to stop this, they wanted to stop people who do or who apply these type of tactics, right? Let's see. All right, cross-referencing. So me personally, y'all already know I cross-reference shit. I don't read because I'm gonna show you throughout the duration of this bill how many times these people contradict even their own history. None of their history is absolute. And if you're reading from any of their history and you're taking it verbatim, you are part of these people. You are the docile mind that accepting this information. And then you're spurring it back onto the people and you're arguing back and forth. So my whole premise from the time I started this was to prove that the Aboriginals was Negroes that been here. We ain't come from no Africa. We wasn't ever no slaves. We been here. We been here before they claimed they got here, which they never claimed they got here in no 1492 because it was no 1492. But that's a whole nother story, right? So I look at information and I keep mental notes of certain documents that I read. And when I see other documents that kind of like um that kind of opposes to what I initially read or what I initially believed that was to be a fact according to these people. Now I have to kind of challenge. Now I have to challenge them and challenge myself to see whether or not that this opposing information is false or not. Right. So that's when we deal with the cross referencing. Right. A cross-reference, a instance within a document which refers to relating information elsewhere in the same document. In both printed and online dictionary cross-references, whatever you guys get is exactly what cross-references at this point, right? But it says in programming, cross-referencing meaning a list of every file name and line number with which a given whatever. Nah, this ain't. It's right here. This is what we looking for right here. An instance within a document which refers to related information elsewhere in the same document, right? Or not the same document. It could be the same history pertaining to a certain group of people, right? We're dealing with decipherment. This is what we need to be dealing with. We need to be dealing with decipherment as well. We cannot take any of their history once again verbatim. We could pull up many different articles on the Cherokees, right? We could pull up different articles on the Creeks. We could pull up different articles on all of these tribes. But when we get down to the real history of it, they never say that these are Negro tribes, and they never say that these people are us. We assume that they are us, so automatically right there, that's a how do you say, that's critical to us learning who we are, because they're not even giving you reference that you are them people, right? So with the decipherment saying to find the meaning of something that is difficult to read or understood, that's our history. That's this history that these people has been promoting and been presenting to us thus far, right? Well, we don't need to go into none of this right now. We could deal with this later. Let's get into it. All right. Let me mute my mic. Hey, listen, I'm gonna click back on the screen while it's playing, right? I'm gonna go back to the StreamYard screen, right? Please let me know if y'all can hear this. So press one if y'all can hear it, press two if you can't. All right. So just please, because I don't want to play this for nothing and then y'all don't hear it and then I gotta restart it and do all that other crazy shit. Cause I already got a lot of shit going on. I got some other things I gotta go do. So I'm gonna mute my mic. So just once I start playing it, just press one if you guys can hear it.
The history books, which we did talk about the Federal Reserve in when it was created, also took over our government-funded education. So we now know that the history that we have been taught is probably not 100%, which we'll get into. So the history books will tell you that Jekyll Island was used by the Native Americans as just a place for hunting. That was it. That was all they used it for. Well, that's completely true. So this was used by a Native American tribe called the Timucua tribe. And the Timucua tribe lived in North Florida and the Georgia coastline. Now,
You saying it's choppy? Y'all didn't hear none of that? Did y'all just hit the part where she just said the Timucua when she started talking about the Timucua? You mic check, Tony. It's breaking up. It's a little choppy. All right, let me try it a different way then. All right, so hold on. Let me try it this way. Just bear with me. We're gonna get this shit right. We're gonna try it like this. Speaker, microphone. Oh no, all right, I got it. Hold up. I'm gonna do it the opposite. Let me see. I'm gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna try it again. Y'all just press one, all right, before I mute my mic. If you guys can hear it. So I'm gonna go back.
to really know how to work that land, and especially those that were come from Northern Europe where the weather was very, very different. Now, the history books, which we did talk about how the Federal Reserve in 1913, when it was created, also took over our government-funded education. So we now know that the history that we have been taught is probably not 100% accurate, which again we'll get into. So the history books will tell you that the Jekyll Island was used by the Native Americans as just a place for hunting and fishing. That was it. That was all we used it for. Well, that's completely not true, which we'll again get into. So this was used by a Native American tribe called the Timucua tribe. And the Timucua tribe lived in North Florida and the Georgia coastline. Now, skeletal remains show that the Timucua tribe were Nephilim. They were like 8 feet tall. All right?
I'm gonna say this one more time, all right? Spit the meat out to the bones. I do not agree with everything she say, but she makes some good points about this coin, exposing us to some stuff that we really didn't know about them. Also, she makes some claims and tell you that Negroes was already in America. All right, so just spit the meat. I mean, eat the meat and spit the bones out. I do not agree with anything everybody say. We're crossing some research and some other documentary to what she's saying, so we can get with it. So peace.
So that's interesting, and we know that from when I was studying the giants, that a lot of the Native Americans had a lot of stories about the giants, and that's another side of our history that I think is. And yesterday was Columbus Day. I think that we're going to have to relearn that it wasn't when the Europeans came over here. It's looking like it wasn't as black and white as they want us to think it was. It seems like a lot of the Native American tribes were actually very open to the Europeans and tried to help them. And a lot of the Native American tribes tried to warn the Europeans about certain things, one being the giants. And a lot of the Native Americans work with the Europeans. I know in the western side of Georgia, the Cherokee and the Creek would create business transactions, but they were very welcoming to getting into business with the Europeans. And there's just some gray there that I think we're going to have to relearn about our relationship with the Native Americans. We also know, and this will get back to the alternative American history, that and this is not conspiracy. You can look all this stuff up. There were people here before the Native Americans got here. So we don't really know who they were. But we have archaeologists have found places that were not native that date back way further than the Native Americans. So
could they have been the Nephilim?
Possibly, and I have some theories on who they.
Remember, y'all, chew the meat, spit the bones out. She's saying that it was Negroes here. And this is what they already saying. All these other science and archaeology articles that we reading is saying that the people who was here before the Native Americans resemble Africans, Australians, and South Pacific Islanders. So they talking about us. We're the people who resemble all of them people. Maybe not. Maybe some of you niggas do look like fucking Australians and shit. But I haven't seen no niggas in my journey that looks like them as a recent, or some people may think they are related to Australia. I've never seen a nigga who looked like an Australian, so I'm always kind of leery about even the Australian point of view when it comes to that. But forget the Nephilim. The Nephilim is another terminology for the Atlanteans, for the Anunnaki. And remember, all of these are how you say they're red herrings, right? They're decoys. All of these names are fucking decoys to our ancestors. And see, when you look at them, you look at these names connotatively, and you revert back to what the mythology story of this shit is. Dealing with the Anunnaki, there's some mysterious. No, they talking about us. When she to say the Nephilim, she's talking about the Nephilim. We're the Nephilim. What people you know incarnated with Europeans? Negroes. They the only people who when you hear the story of the Moors, right? The story of the Moors, they had Europeans in the harems. And when they talk about mankind, they talking about Europeans. When they talk about the Nephilim and intermixing with them, they're talking about us intermixing with Europeans. Alright? Now let me go back. I just want to make sure you guys can still hear me. Let me see something real quick. Can you guys still hear that? Can y'all hear that? Mic check. I just want to come back and keep checking because I do not want to keep going back and forth over this shit. All right. Like I said, when they tell you about the Nephilim, they talking about us, even though that we're not no motherfucking Nephilim or whatever. But they're talking about us. They trying to make all of these stories some fantasy shit when this shit really happened. You understand what I'm saying? And we're the descendants of the people who they keep saying. Who they keep saying that, oh, the Nephilims, the Anunnaki, these people. No, they talking about us. Because you Negroes never thought that your people had the science or technology to do the shit that they were saying. Now, let's check. She said the Timucua was in Florida to the sea islands, right? Where the Gitchy Guale is at, right? But then we got another dilemma that we're gonna hear later on, because the Guale, which is spelled Guile, they was in the same fucking area, and they died off, and here come a mysterious tribe of people called the Gulllah and the Geechee, who all lived in the same region as the Yamasee, the Timucuans, the Gulllah, the Tuscarora, all of them lived in the same area. And look, I'm gonna just show you something real quick. I wasn't this yet because I'm gonna play some more of the video, right? But this is a map right here I found, right? So you got the Timucua right here, boom, Florida, right? And then you got the Yamasee and the Gulllah. You got the Yamasee and the Guale. Guale is Gulllah. Do not be a fucking idiot. Guale is Gulllah. It's the same fucking tribe, bro. They're fucking with us. And like I said, they've been fucking with our history, and they present a lot of stuff. And people pull up these articles and never say, well, let me pull up. Let me pull up at least about four articles pertaining to the same topic, and let me see if they all consistent with each other. You're gonna find that they're not all consistent with each other, because they making this shit up as they just trying to hide the they're trying to hide the people who was here, which are us. That's what they doing. And I know a lot of people don't understand the how imperative this shit is that we come to an understanding, or at least do your own research and make sure you use the methods that I mentioned earlier or whatever in researching any of this shit. Don't take none of these articles face value. Do not take any of them face value. Cross-reference, use the research that you got that basically opposes of all of the pros, especially if it's when it's dealing with us. All right, so look, so you got the Yamasee right here, right? You got the Yamasee right here, boom. The Yamasee right here, flat right here. Look, we got the Yamasee right here, right? Boom. We got the Gulllah, right? Now the Gulllah people now say that they're descendants of Africans that came here. They don't know when. They I guess some of them say 1520. That's what they saying. But then you got the Yamasee right here, right? Now this goes back to Lucky. Lucky asked me why the fuck did I use this article, right? Because I got common sense. These niggas saying there wasn't no Negroes here even before Columbus. But this saying that the Yamasee, even if they saying they African, we know they ain't African. Even if they saying that they African, they saying that they was here before Columbus and they was inhabiting them same fucking islands. Now check. Let's look. Now check. We're boom. Y'all all done heard this article, or I guess a couple people done heard this shit, or whatever, right? So talk about the large Negro population on the coast of South Carolina, which is the Sea Islands. Not just the Sea Islands, but the coast, the inland as well, right? So when we talk about the Sea Islands, we talking about all of them shit. Helen Island, Jekyll Island, all of them islands that's out there. All of them, because some of them islands are off the coast of Georgia, which one of my uncles live on. But the other ones are further east, or what we call further north. Let's say further north. They'd be further north, which would take them into the South Carolina region, right? Now check this out. Boom, we read this right here, right? But how did it go? Let me get to the point where I want to read it. All right, say a most peculiar thing in the Kurtafige in his book on the human race asserts that the fact that Africans, now look, we know they ain't Africans, because how the fuck do they know they Africans? How do they know they Africans? unless they under the assumption that all black people came from Africa, which we know that is some pseudo shit. We know that is some pseudoscience at this point in time. All black people did not come from Africa. But they're saying that. But then we find black people other places. Oh yeah, they walked all the way from Africa all the way to across America and went into the motherfucking the South Pacific Islands, or went over to South Asia, or went over to these. We find a large majority of Negroes at today. That is the most asinine, preposterous I've ever heard, and people believed this shit. Oh, people was just migrating. Oh, so they had a migration that long. Whatever happened. Okay, let's say that whole continent blew up. Boom. So they migrated because it was a catastrophic event that happened that made them migrate west. And then they went all the way across the Americas, survived all of this shit here, walked all the way from the East Coast all the way to the Pacific side, right? Or yeah, to the Pacific side, then jumped in boats and crossed over and went over to them islands. You niggas is fucking crazy. Nonetheless, though, right? The more peculiar thing in the Court of Fidge in his book on the human race assertion is the fact that Africans lived on these islands long before the discovery of America by Columbus. Now, we don't have to even sit here and ponder and say, oh, they're Africans. Oh, African. Because that right there still, it still exposes what they're saying. They saying there wasn't no Negroes here. They saying there was no Negroes here. This is what they saying. So he's saying that in South Carolina, off them islands, it was already Negroes inhabiting them islands. Now, if it was already Negroes inhabiting islands, then why the Gitchy Gulllah saying that they was African slaves? Now, if they came here before Columbus, obviously they wasn't brought here. They didn't come here via no slave ship. Okay? And then even when I'm gonna play the rest of the video, I'm just gonna put a little snippet into what we're gonna get into, right? Even look, this is a Timucua right here. So okay, so the Yamasees was Negroes. Then we go into Florida, there's more Negroes there. We can find Negroes all the way in Virginia and Maryland and all of them other places. So all of these people got the same fucking story. This whole history is suspect. And any nigga who regurgitate one fucking whole article from you and don't tell you to be critical about certain contentions or certain talking points within them articles. You have to have discernment when it comes to this history. You have to have it. If you don't have it, then you're lost because you're gonna pick up an article and read the whole shit, and then you're gonna be confused when you find other information that is not consistent with what you already being told. All right, so we're gonna get back into the video because she dropped some heavy shit. So let's get back into it. All right, it's right here. All right, so boom.
They were, but we do know that the Native Americans conquered them eventually as well, which is not, I mean, this whole idea of like conquering and stuff, I mean, that's just happened throughout history. That happened in Europe, it happened in Africa, it's happened in every continent. People have been conquered. That's just the story of humanity's history. So I'm not saying that in a negative way. And it's kind of sad that we're at a place in time in our history where we have to like apologize for history when we're talking about facts. But I'm sure people watching this understand this is just how humanity was. I mean, Europe, even within Europe, constantly, France and England and Germany were constantly at each other and constantly trying to take lands, and boundary lines were moving. So this is just humanity. So we have this group, the Timucua Native Americans, that were obviously Nephilim. They're around 8 feet tall, and they used Jekyll Island as their main, their main government. It was like their Washington, D.C. It was where the chiefs lived. Now, the thing about the Timucuan is that they practiced Canaanite practices, which is super interesting. And then this gets back to this idea of an alternate history.
Now look, check this out. Even dealing with the Canaanites, right? I heard Dr. York say, and you can dismiss Dr. York on assumptions that was made upon him, but Dr. York got a lot of research and a lot of information out there, whether you believe or you don't believe. But he said that they changed the whole story of the Canaanites. and made them seem like they were some savages, right? Now, this lady gets said that, oh, okay, I'm not saying it, but even if we don't believe what the Canaanites are, right? But they have cultural ramifications in which people are cross-referencing them and saying that these are the same people. What kind of bird is that? My bad, y'all. I'm looking out the window at a fucking bird. This bird beautiful too, yo. That look like a cardinal, a black and white cardinal. I ain't never seen a cardinal that color. But nonetheless, though, right? She's gonna get into it. I'm gonna play some more.
So the Canaanites, these are who our deep state are today, the Phoenicians, the Canaanites. They're the people that worshipped Baal, still worship Baal, Moloch. This is still their religion is as old as,
or El. The Canaanites' God was El. And I'm not saying, I'm just filling in the biblical information. These people, the Timucua ain't had to be no Canaanites or none of this stuff she's saying. But they had to find something that's in reference to what they call in the Canaanites, or how they able to connect that culture to the culture that was on Jekyll Island. She gets said that the Timucuan tribe used Jekyll Island like a Washington D.C. So she not saying it like it's some primitive shit where they had a bunch of tents and shit set up. She's saying like it's buildings and it was structures and it was all this stuff within Jekyll Island. And this is one of the factors to the reason why they took it over. But let's continue.
Judaism is as old as, dates back before Jesus came. Like they were worshiping Moloch, and part of that religion that we understand now was sacrificing your firstborn child. Now we know from the deep state that they either will physically sacrifice their child by killing it, or they will sacrifice their child by forcing it to have a gender change at birth, which is totally child abuse, in my opinion.
Duck it, please. Don't listen to everything. Some of the shit she's saying is crazy, but the chemical information is something that's very imperative. So I'm gonna skip past that part.
Before you go further, now that's interesting because what
world order takeover was going to be confusing gender. They were going to bring us to a place where these old Canaanite altars. And he starts off by saying that, in his perspective, because he is also a scientist and a Christian. So his perspective is we got to get rid of these altars. We got to burn them. We got to get rid of them. But of course, archaeologists want to preserve them and keep them. Well, this man, and again, God works in mysterious ways. This man was on Jekyll Island, and he noted, because there is some like preserve on Jekyll Island, and you can see some of the skeletal remains of these natives. And he kept saying, "This is Canaanite. This is not typical of Native American practices from this area. This is Canaanite practices. This isn't like Canaanite practices. This is actual Canaanite practices from the Middle East that this tribe was doing." And anyway, so let's keep that in mind, because we're going to get into that a little bit. My opinion of it is that maybe the Timucuan weren't actually Native American, that they might have been descendants of the Canaanites, which I'll get into in the alternative history. And this is just my observation from what I researched.
And I'm gonna say this too, right? Check this shit out. So the connotative meaning of a Native American sticks with these people, right? And anything they see that's not consistent with what the history say that Native Americans does, then they automatically say that they're not the same people, which we're not Native Americans. And she's right by that. But some of the claims you gotta kind of like, a lot of these people, they say stuff according to research that they read or whatever. But a lot of this shit right here is not consistent with anything I've ever heard. But the altars, the fact that that Jekyll Island, which are one of the sea islands out there off of the coast of Georgia or South Carolina, was being used by the so-called Timucua, right? Now, the Gulllah was in the same area. The Yamasee was in the same area. But then when you get the story about the Yamasee War, I'm gonna show you where they went into and who was inhabiting St. Augustine. St. Augustine was inhabited by the Timucuan. So after the war of 1715 or whatever the Yamasee and Gulla war was, when they went into, hold up, no, it's right here. Let me see. No, it's this one. So what this says? It says, as a people, the Yamasees had been ethnically mixed. Now, don't believe that. We already, because there wasn't no other races of people there. It was only Negroes there. They already made said that Yamasee was Negroes, and but they're gonna try to make it seem like the Yamasees mixed with Africans. But they already said that the Yamasees were so-called black people. So how can that be true? But because they're hiding the identity of Yamasees. Nevertheless, um, as a people, the Yamasees had always been ethnically mixed. Now, according to the mayor of Beaufort County, he just said that they was Africans. Right now, I'm not saying that they came from Africa. I'm saying that the description of them is what they compare us to with Africans because we're melanated, dark-skinned people, right? But we know we're not Africans, nor was the Yamasee Africans. Okay, so, however, go and say in the aftermath of the Yamasee War, they split apart. About a third of the survivors chose to settle among the Lower Creek, eventually becoming and merging with the Creek Confederacy. Right, so the Creek just accepted them because they all Muskogee. These are the Creek is not a tribe. The Yamasee, these are different areas. These are different areas that's named after that. So the people who reside within them lands, they automatically are calling them that. But they will all be Muskogee, right? So it says, becoming part of the emerging Creek Confederacy. Most of the rest of the Appalachia refuge moved to a vicinity of St. Augustine. Okay, now I'm gonna show you in a minute of how the St. Augustine was inhabited by the Timucua. I'm gonna probably play another video, but we're gonna get into it. I got to about like 2 o'clock. All right, so let's get back into this.
Searched. I'm not an expert in this, but this is just from what I've seen and listening to this guy who is an expert at this. So he starts getting deeper into studying Jekyll Island, and he realized again that this group, the Timucuan tribe, were practicing all their religious ceremonies on Jekyll Island, specifically on Jekyll Island. So in the 1500s, this is when the Spanish Europeans first started to explore this area. We have like Ponce de Leon, we have De Soto, we have tons of markers around here. They were obviously they were looking for the Fountain of Youth. Now, I read a book growing up called Tuck Everlasting. I'm sure a lot of people read that book. It was one of my favorite, where it was basically like the circle of life is important. You don't need the Fountain of Youth. But there is a spring here in Atlanta that they've paved over that many people think was the Fountain of Youth. I'm starting to think the Fountain of Youth, though, was possibly within the Timucuan tribe and was the drinking of adrenochrome.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my mind is now going. When I was a kid and we...
Now she bugging, y'all. Don't like I said, some of the shit she's saying is totally fucking asinine. But some of the connections to the Timucua and Jekyll Island, the temples, some of the other cross references is something that I'm using just to identify and show that these people was in this location right here, where they saying that the Gulllah, the Gitche, the Yamasee, and these other tribes all reside within the same fucking inhabit. They all reside within the same area, so they had to be all the same people. Because even if the Yamasees went into, if they was from Georgia, which the map shows right here, right? Which the map shows right here, the Yamasee, right? But then they said that the Timucua was up here with them too. They saying that the Timucua was up here with them too. But then when you get into the Gulllah, they tell you that what? Look, when they tell you, look, check this out. It's saying the Gulllah and the Yamasee tribes. It's saying The coast of what is now the state of Georgia, from Savannah River as far as St. Andrew Sound, was anciently occupied by a tribe or related tribes, which, wherever doubts may remain regarding the people can just considered, undoubtedly belongs to the Muskegon stock. This region was known to the Spanish as the province of Guala. Now look, some people reference and says that the Gulla right here, this whole coast, right? Boom. I'm gonna get back into the video. This whole coast, let me zoom out. This whole coast right here, boom, was all called the Gulla, the Guale, if you will, right? The whole coast was called the Guale. This right here, Guale, right? Now, even when you get into the Gulla now and the Gitche, isn't it ironic that you got another group of people that got almost the same pronunciation of a fucking word, the Gulla and the Gulle? It's similar, and they inhabit in the same fucking regions, right? But check this out, right? So let's go back to that article. Boom. All right, so it's saying this region, and it's saying what? They the Muskogee stock, right? I can pull up right now, Sir Solomon Jones films, and it would show you that the bank that was in their area was called the Muskogee, that their football team was called the Muskogee. You see, Omaji is where the Okamichi, or it's a Omaji River, right? Now the people in Oklahoma still is called the Old Omaji, right? Along that time when Sir Solomon Jones was recording these so-called black towns, right? That's just something just to hold on. Just keep a mental note of that, right? So once again, it's saying this region was known to the Spanish as the province of Gulla, okay, pronounced Walla. But most of the Indians lived there finally became merged with a tribe known as the Yamasee, right? It's saying, and from it will be to consider the two together from a letter. Now check this out. This is how they try to separate the Timucua, right? From a letter of one of the Timucua missionaries, we learned that the Gulla was pronounced or was called the Yabaha, Yabaha, right? Or Yabaha by the Timucua Indians, right? So now once again, this is saying that they was up in the same area. The map shows you they was up in the same area, right? Hold up, something else I want to show you guys. You know what? Let's go back to the video real quick.
Heard about the Fountain of Youth, I thought it was this spring, but now I'm starting to think there's, the elite, the global elite, they like to tell us what the truth is, but not really. It's very vague. We jump to our own conclusions that it was a creek. Well, they're just going to leave it at that. But I'm starting to think that there was an exploration into this particular tribe that they recognized as Canaanite. That's just my opinion. So anyway, then after the Spanish explored around 1562, we had a lot of French Protestants come to this area. Now, this area again is mostly people of English descent, but we do have a lot of people of French descent as well. Especially in Charleston, and that's because they were Huguenots. So New Orleans, that whole area, that was very Catholic. And so around this time, you're looking at Europe was just a bloodbath of the Protestant Reformation and the Catholics. And the French came to this area to try to establish their own little Huguenot town. Now, the legend has it is that the French landed on Jekyll Island, and in the dead of night, they ran away in horror because they witnessed the Timucuan participating in a human sacrifice. Now, they went south and they established the city of St. Augustine in Florida, which is a really cool city. It's one of our oldest cities here in America. If you're ever in the Florida area, St. Augustine is fantastic. But that was the French that they went from Jekyll. They hightailed it down the coast. They had to get out of the Timucuan area.
Now, look, This is how, like I said, like how I can prove her wrong, right? She's saying that the Huguenots left from Jekyll Island, where the Timucans was at, and went into St. Augustine, right? The Timucans ran St. Augustine. They ran St. Augustine. This is one of the most premier places where they was at, was in St. Augustine, right? So even when we go here, right? Let's check this out. We go here, boom. Show this. This is the image of what they call the Timucua. I gotta believe it. I gotta believe it because I don't see no reason why somebody would make a fucking statue that was like this and saying that without this, like, so they just created this shit. This shit is like a comic book, and then they got other images to show, right? More images, right? And then they got actual literature that's pretty much telling you, right? They got actual literature, right? So this to show you that, and look, even the map itself shows, look, the map itself shows you that the Timucua was in Florida right here. This is where St. Augustine is at, in this area right here. St. Augustine is more like North Florida, right? Up in this area right here, right? So this shows that the Timucua was, they had to be the Yamasee and the Gulllah and the Muskogee and all of these other tribes. Like, this is the reason why we ain't getting our history proper, because it's like, okay, boom, these people. Now I'm gonna show you a video from Dr. Longo. He got a nice build on St. Augustine that's gonna be interesting, right? But I think he actually mentions that the Timucua was in St. Augustine. But I'm gonna pull up an article and show you that the Timucua was in St. Augustine. So just bear with me. Matter of fact, you know what? Give me 1 second. Peace to the guys, man. Hit that like button if you get an opportunity. I definitely will appreciate it. Um, Let me just find something real quick. All right, here's this one right here. All right, so let me see. So I'm trying to get some. I don't want to open too many screens. I'm trying to close some of this shit because I don't want my computer to start acting funny. So peace to the guys. Peace to everybody that's up in here. How many people we got up in here? 136, man. Peace to the 136 Aboriginals that's up in here getting some of this information. And remember, like I said, I don't do the boring shit where I just read one article and then take. Nah, it's too much information that these people then conceal to even be believing their entire argument. When I first ran across this interview by this young lady, right? I found it real interesting that she was talking about the Timucua being in South Carolina, and she's also going to tell you that black people was already in America. I'm just trying to get to that point because around that time when she gets into that point, she start pointing out all of, like, some of the structures and some of the other stuff that I'm gonna show and prove to you. Let's see, hold up. I can kind of show and prove this right here. It's this right here. So it's saying for more than 500 years before the arrival of Mendez, it's saying the Timucua people of St. Augustine. Now look, that's how you know that the fucking Huguenots and all of these people that they saying are the same fucking people, bro. So the Huguenots went into South Carolina with all of them so-called fucking tribes there. Oh, that flag of the crescent star, with the palm tree. Oh, that's a flag. Is there not palm trees in fucking Florida? Oh, that flag in South Carolina of the palm tree with the crescent flag. I just showed you an aboriginal yesterday that had a fucking that had a crescent star on it. That had a crescent and a star, but the shit was upside down. I'm gonna find that image though, but it's saying the Timucua people of St. Augustine. Now, the young lady gets said that the so-called Huguenots went there and the Timucuans was practicing a human sacrifice, so they left. They got ghosts. They got ghosts and went into St. Augustine, where obviously, what does it says? For over 500 years before the arrival of Mendez, the Timucua people of St. Augustine area have been living in much the same way as there was in 1565. They was organized as chieftain societies comprised of several allied communities with a hierarchy. See, it's saying central political authority. I'm sorry, let me open this shit up. My fucking eyes is bugging. All right, here we go. That's better. All right, so it's saying with a hierarchy of central political authority, and the matrilineal line is saying they trace their descendants and inheritance through the female line. It's saying they fish, hunted, and cultivated corn, bean, and squash. Now I tell you this, right? On another one of these articles, right, that basically talking about the Yamasee, they saying that how the Europeans, which I don't believe that shit neither, right? I don't believe no Europeans coming there creating no rice plantations. It was already rice plantations there, right? They try to make you think that, and they talking about the Yamasees in this case. They're not even talking about the so-called Gitche or the Gulllah tribes that claim that the rice came from Africa and all that shit. No, the Yamasees is also involved with the rice plantations, right? But however it go, right? So it's saying the principal chief of St. Augustine region in 1565 was Celoy, and his town has been located in archaeology on the grounds of what is today the Fountain of Youth Park. About you can't make this shit up. She gets said the Fountain of Youth was in fucking it was in South Carolina, right? But then we found out that the fucking Florida, the Fountain of Youth, which most people already been saying that was already off that region in Florida, right? It's saying about 1 mile north of the Castillo de San Marcos, which that's a mound, right? This is a mound, the Castillo de Saint Marcos. Let me see if I got that up here. All right, it's right here. Look, and this is what these niggas saying, right? Boom. They made a drawing of a European, right, saying that he was the one responsible for the castle or whatever, the fucking structure, right? This fort right here, right? But then when you get into it, it tells you, it talks about the Timucua in North Florida, right? So I'm just putting the Timucua and showing you that the Timucua was in Florida. But I got some other shit that we gonna kind of go into this as well, right? But it's so funny, right? Let me see something. I think it was. I think it was right here where they start talking about the African laborers of St. Augustine, right? Now look, check this out, right? Now look, check this out. It's saying Africans, both free and enslaved, made up the portion of the Castellio labor force, as they had always made up the portion of St. Augustine population. Now look, check this out. Now check. Look. This is how you look at history for what it really is, right? So now we got another case right here, right? So now we got two groups. Check this out. Check this out. According to this, look, boom. This is from the mayor of Beaufort County. He already said that the Yamasees that lived them there in them islands was there long before Christopher Columbus. Check, right? Right, and it says, boom, it's saying one of the fiercest of the Indian tribes, right? So you think the Huguenots just gonna pull up on their territory and get set up shop? Are you out of your mind? See, this is how these people telling you, oh, they get anybody get. You're looking at history now. People just pulling up, coming here because they're protected by the government. You understand what I'm saying? But back then it says, hold up. It says he is a high authority, and he says that the Yamasee Indians were Negroes. Okay? Now, that he's making a distinction, saying that these people look like African, even though he's saying Africans lived here. This is under the eugenics and Charles Darwin and all of this shit, eugenics shit, to where they put all these people on all these continents. But nonetheless, though, let's continue, right? Saying he is of a high authority, and he said that the Yamasee Indians were Negroes. It's saying what were known afterwards as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South. The well-known Yamasee Indians were Africans. Now we know, how do they know they're Africans? That's the question. How do they know that? Or is it get saying that according to what the perception or the propaganda that they putting out there? How would they know where they came from or know that they was Africans? So now you got Africans living right there. Let's go back to the map, right? Now I'm just telling people, like, none of this shit connects one. It's not like a track, like you put a track together and all the pieces connect. No, you have to look at it. It's ironic that we got a tribe right here called the Gulle. Then we got another tribe called the Gulla Geechee. That's in the same fucking area, right? Then we got the Timucua, right? That's in the same fucking area. Then we got the Yamasee and the Gulla going to St. Augustine where the Timucuans at. And this article right here said what? It said that Africans, both free and enslaved, made up a portion of the custodial labor force, as they had always made up a portion of the St. Augustine population, right? So now we got Africans living amongst. Check this out. Look, this is the way my mind think, right? Boom. Living amongst the Timucuan people, right? Now check this out. The Timucuan people in the St. Augustine area, right? Now, this is what they said the Timucuans look like. Would this not be, now check this out. See, this is why I be trying to tell these Pan Africans why they can't fuck with me. Because I don't care what you present. You niggas is slow. You niggas can't. You niggas will never understand, right? Now, wouldn't this right here be perceived of motherfucking African? But check it out. Let's get a closer look at them, right? Let's get a closer look at them. You see, he got nappy fucking hair. This is a goddamn Negro all day. Nigga like Lamar Jackson, right? The fucking Ravens quarterback, right? Now you take a look at this, right? But yet on the other hand, they saying that, oh, it's a population. Now check this out. Then check. Let's check this out, right? We're gonna check with something else, right? Look, we're gonna check again, right? Boom. Just hold on for a second. There's one part in here I'm looking for because it's pretty lengthy. The Yamasee migration into the Makama and the Timucua missions, right? The Timucua missions, the province of Florida, right? So let me get to the part. All right. Now check this out. Let me see something. Well, the other one already showed. I don't even want to go through the whole article, right? Right, but it does say right here the Yamasees were expected to provide tribute and labor to the local chiefs and the Spanish colony. Now, remember, the Spanish colony is only the so-called Moors that came back to Florida, man. They ain't no Spanish, nigga. The people, when they tell you the Spanish that was living in Florida was the ones that came back from Europe that settled over there amongst their people. This is the reason why they trying to make it seem like they're so friendly, that the Indians so friendly with these foreigners. Because first of all, you don't know these foreigners was already part of these people of our international trade, and they was descendants of the people here. So they just give you these names. Oh, the Spanish colony. So now you're thinking of a Spaniard. No, these are Moors that came back into Florida, who lived among the Timucua, but then they said that the Timucuans as Moors as well. That the same culture left from Florida and went over there. So the people that went over there, when they writing about them in history, that they come back, They saying that they're the Spanish colony, which they not, right? So it's saying the Spanish colony respectively. By 1683, most of the towns were again empty as the Yamasee excavated Florida and fled north to English Carolina. Right, saying archaeology evidence of the first phase of the Yamasee occupation in Florida from 1667 to 1683 is limited, and as few sites as this era have been excavated or more systematically sampled. Right, so we got more activities of the Yamasees, but in this case, they saying that the Yamasees left in 16. But this one right here, look, this is what I'm saying. This is why you can't believe history. You see what I'm saying? Like people, they this is the same reason why I'm telling you can't believe fucking history. You can't believe a goddamn word that come out these people's mouth. Now, that's a whole nother article right here. It's a whole nother. Hold on. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me see something. Let's go back to the original one I was at. This one. Boom. Now this one says the Yamasee, whatever, it says about a third of the survivors chose to settle among the lower creek, eventually becoming part of the emerging Creek Confederacy. Most of the rest joined the Apicola Refuge in the, moved to the vicinity of St. Augustine in the summer of 1715. So now this one saying that one article saying that they left in 1600. This article saying that they went back there in 1715. So what would be the likelihood that they was always they had an empire from Florida? Like we already know how big Florida was now. Now we know how big Florida was. So to show you a map like this, right? Boom. To show you a map like this, the Yamasee, let's blow it up in case you can't see it. The Yamasee, the Gulllah, and the Timucua, right? They had to all be the same fucking tribe or the same nation. Even if you believe that they really left here, if the Europeans came here and chased the Yamasees and the Gallas into the Timucua, that's bullshit. Because the Galla people now saying that they have always been in them islands, despite the fact that the Europeans is chasing other tribes out. It doesn't make no sense. You have to kind of like they're not giving us the entire history verbatim. You have to find when you are prompted, because you can't take a whole article like this, right, and read this shit face value, and then you memorize this shit, and then you spew this among people. Nah, because this article ain't even right and exact. It's just certain aspects of it that's connecting that we can cross reference. We're not saying that this article is right and exact. We're not saying that this article is right and exact. We're not saying that this is right and exact. You know what I'm saying? But we do see two similarities. We in this article, it says what? No, it's this one. In this article, it says that the Yamasees excavated Florida, but they was in the area of where? They said where? The Yamasees migration into the Macama and the Timucuan missions in Providence of France. We know that the Timucuan was where? The Timucuan people of St. Augustine, right? In Florida, right? So we got another article right here that's saying the same fucking thing. Eventually becoming part of the emerging Creek Confederacy. Most of the rest of y'all know what it is. Refugees moved to the vicinity of St. Augustine, right, in the summer of 1715. So we're talking about the Yamasees right here, okay? I didn't read the whole article because I already went over it. But they're talking about the Yamasees, and they saying part of them became Creek, the other part went as refuge and moved to vicinities of St. Augustine, right? But like I said, in that same time, we got the Timucuan people. We got activity of them in St. Augustine. Then, according to this lady right here, right, we got activity of the Timucuan on St. Jekyll Island. So you think that they just was on St. Jekyll Island? They wasn't on the rest of them islands? So they just was on St. Jekyll Island, right? Oh, so on this island right here, you had the Timucuans. On this island right here, you had the Gulllah, and Gitche, and then the Guale. Come on now, that's what I'm trying to say. Like this whole history, and people read this shit verbatim, and they don't have some of these sources to revert back to say, nah, this is some pseudo shit. All of the shit that they teaching us is all bullshit. Everything that they teaching us with any of this history, and I'm gonna show you something else too, right? Now look, before I get back into this, because I'm gonna show you that the Timucua and the Guale was building they was building temples. Now check this out. Boom. Go here real quick. Uh this book is called, let's go to the top so you guys see what it is. Ain't freestyle. Even though I am freestyling, right? But I'm not freestyling in this way. I'm not making shit up. So this is actually a dissertation, right? By Ronald Lynn Wallace, right? It said dissertation presented to the Graduate Council of the University of Florida in partial fulfillment of the requirement for the degree of the Doctor of Philosophy. University of Florida, 1975, the same fucking year I was born, right? Let me see something. Did it show you the name? Alright, let me see. Alright, this is called the Archaeology and Anal Historic and Biochemical Investigation of the Gulllah Aborigines of the Georgia Coastal Strand. Right? That's the name of the book, right? So boom, I already got it open here again. We can go right here. Boom. I don't want to lose this part right here. Let me see. Alright, so boom. So in this so-called part that I'm reading right here, right? They talk about they talk about burial. So these are some of the burials that they found, right? I'm gonna just make it smaller so you guys can see it. These are some of the burials. And if you look at the burial, some of them are on different islands, right? So look, some of them are on different islands. These are islands where they saying that they found these burials. These are the islands right off of the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, right? If you guys can see it, let me blow it up a little bit. So them are islands. These are the areas where they found these burial. They saying mounds, but they're gonna get into them and say that they were structures as well, right? So let me see something. I don't want to read from this part here. I just want to show y'all the fact that these people was building shit, right? And they gonna give credit to the Gulllah of building them and say that the Gullah and the so-called Timucua, they trying to separate them in the same sentence, right? Let me see, is it this one? All right, boom, it's this part right here. All right, so this is 125 of the book, right? Saying noteworthy among the former in the mortuary of Irene Mound site discussed in chapter one. So they talking about mounds and shit that they found in the mounds, but they also talking about structures as well. Now listen, right? It's saying Carwell, etc., have described the Irene mortuary as being as having been turned I'm sorry, subterranean, and the Watt tile of the dab construction, the ground plan was square with rounded corners. There was a projection interest passage. Carwell and McCain, 1941. I guess this is something from, I guess he's sourcing them, right? Because he put in quotation. So he probably, that's the source, right? Saying a similar ground plan is described by Ovidio Valdez for the accessories of Guadalupe. It's saying by which he may possible have meant Guale, right? It's saying, but his description of the building material does not fit well with the present archaeology archaeology finding, right? So they comparing two sites, right? But check this shit out. It's saying our vital observed that there was houses or temples in which the dead was buried. It's saying, but described them as having walls of stone about 8 or 9 feet high, set in a mortar made of oyster shell. Now check, they're gonna get into the lime cement in a minute, right? It's saying the rest of the construction of pine wood, right? Pine wood again, we hit pine wood, right? It's saying Swanton Point here seems well taken. That I vital is apparently referring to lime cement or tabby construction material, and that at least some aspects of his housing description have an impression of the Timucua constructions. Now, once again, I don't want to get all into it, but look right here. No, it's the same shit. I just want you guys to know. Let me just find a source in a book that shows you that we're off the coast of South Carolina. Let me see. I think it's this one. I ain't looking for it. I'll show y'all. Y'all get the picture. Right? So look. Let me see something real quick. Let's go back. So let me see something. What you guys saying before I continue? I only been rocking for an hour. Okay. Bro, there was no fucking Huguenots, my dude. The Huguenots is the Moors returning back from Al Andalusia. They making all this shit up. They making all of this shit up, bro. All of this shit that they making up. So, the Huguenots are the Moors that came back because now the Huguenots went into Saint Augustine too. Come on now, and like I said, they already said it was returnees that came back over here. This is the reason why they keep on making references to all this Moor shit, because it wasn't from over there; it was from over here and went over there. So them people that's coming back over here, they get said that Yamasee was the fiercest warriors, right? And check this out. Let me show you something else, right? There's just another source right here, right? This is a painting of the so-called Yamasee War. Now look at the Yamasees. Look, they got shields. One of the other pictures I got, like the motherfucker got like some type of high tech device where he like it's in the background right here. It's another picture I got that's a little bigger than this one. I couldn't find it. These is Negro'S, and this will be the Yamasee War. It's in South Carolina, right? Now, understand this, right? In a lot of cases, these people, these Slavics that these people freed and told them that if they can come over here and defeat us, like so you got more sending these Slavics over here as military, right? And tell them that if they can now, when we say Moors, we talking about the Christians, we talking about the Catholic Moors. The ones that came back here, they ain't convert to that. That's why they came back. But they put in these Europeans, my bad. They put these Europeans as the pawns and telling them that, oh, you guys can be free if you could defeat them in some cases. In some cases, that's why you do see some Europeans coming over here. But these people was defeated, man. These people ain't survived. You know what I'm saying? And I'm along with the slaves that was already here, right? They emptying out some of the people who was over there in Europe, or the people who was created as a result of the intermixing, like the young lady said in the front when she was talking about the Nephilim. How they tell the Nephilim came down and mixed with the races of women. Talking about all they talking about the Moors mixing with the motherfucking Europeans, man. That's all they talking about. That's all they talking about. But this is another image right here of what they said of Yamasee. You see buildings and shit behind here or whatever. But nonetheless, though, this is what you got right here, bro. So let me see something. I don't that Huguenot shit, them Sephardic Jews. I don't go for none of that shit. None of it, because all of that shit is the same. A Jew ain't nothing but a Canaanite, or what you call a Israelite. I'm not saying that they or the Jews now are Israelites, but when they referencing these so-called things, they talk about the people who got them cultures. And we see them cultures all in America. They don't have to be Israelites as what they telling you, but we see certain aspects of what's in that book among the cultures and among some of the the ant the ant I'm sorry, the architecture remains, building structures, and some of the other science that they comparing to them so-called cultures. So when I say, oh, believe in no Bible or A1 up here telling, nah, you just take the information. If you see references in the information, you try to find out how does that apply to you. Does it apply to me like they saying in this fucking Bible, or does it apply to me on a higher science that these people would never be able to understand because they don't come from that? So peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses. Let me get back into the bill. And then look, just because he talked about limestone, so before I get into that, show you other evidence of limestone in America. That's how we know, because the other article saying that this so-called Slavic, he created the fort when we already know we was building forts on the mouth of every river. All of these forts that we was building on the mouth of every river was for us, man. It ain't no. These people didn't have the science to come here and just build shit. When you got these fierce Indian, these fierce Aborigines running around here, it ain't going down like that. It's not going down like that. We had to be the people that constructed them, unless your people was some savages and some fucking suckers. So check this out. And this kind of puts you a little ahead of the game, right? When you know this type of information, it puts you ahead of the game, right? So once again, American Indian Encyclopedia, lovely read, full of sources, full of different read material. Right. So boom, we got concrete right here. Boom, let's highlight it. And this is according to them, right? 300 BC to through 300 AD, right? So boom, they tell you Mesoamerican cultures, um, the Mesoamerican culture, concrete, a mixture of sand and gravel and lime, right? And lime and water is used in construction projects, including buildings and roads, because of the lime concrete is more durable than adobe. It's saying the Mayans, who culture arose in Mesoamerica in about 1500 BC, are the first indigenous Americans to make concrete, inventing and independently. Let's say, look, remember, I'm just saying this just for the hell of it, since we reading it, right? It's saying inventing it independently of the Egyptians and the Romans, because the Egyptians and the Romans got that fucking science from us. Got that? The Romans ain't nothing but the Moors that went over to the Iberian Peninsula, who had the science of what we already was doing in America. Okay, so let's continue saying during the late pre-classical period of their cultural development, which lasted from 300 BC to 300 AD. The Mayans used concretes as mortars to adhere blocks to each other, and plaster and stucco, a thicker version of plaster to cover stones or adobe surfaces in their masonry projects and in their art. It's saying they call this plaster succub. Okay, so the Mayan used stucco in there, and this is probably where the word stucco came from. This right here, succub. This is spelled Sacbe or whatever, right? So it's saying using stucco in their sculptures as well. See stone masonry techniques. One of the main ingredients in these building material is lime. 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 Now we see this in this other book right here. Let's go back to this. They go to source again, right? What does it say that they talking about the Gulllah in this case, right? The Gulleh, right? But they kind of saying that they in reference to what? The Timucua structures that I'm about to show you when I get into the Dr. Longo video, that's actually in St. Augustine. AP did a build on South Carolina and showed some of the buildings and structures that look identically to the ones you see in Florida, right? So the it said a chemical construction, right? But then it right here it say that Avito is apparently referring to lime cement or tabby. Now lime cement is in reference to what? Avado observed that there was houses or temples in which the dead was buried, nigga. Okay, houses or temples along to go with mounds, because they do talk about mounds in this book too, right? But houses and temples, right? Where else can we reference that at? Oh, we wasn't building no houses and no temples. You niggas is crazy, right? We can reference this right here, right? We can reference this right here, right? Now these clowns, oh, this is a pseudo book of an individual who never came here, right? But guess what? He got a lot of illustrations of what the people look like here, right? And I believe him. All right, so I know this Montanez, New and Unknown World, 1671, right? We gonna go down right here, and we gonna run it right here. Boom. So look, it says the New and Unknown World. It's saying, or the description of America and the Southland containing the origins of the Americans and the Southlanders. Remarkable voyages, the Thither. It's saying quality of shores, islands, cities, fortresses, forts, motherfucker. Like this, like the lot of this motherfucker right here trying to show and prove. Let me see. Was it? Which one was it? Or was this one? Hold up. Look. Fortresses, which the lot of this motherfucker right here trying to say that he responsible for, right? A fortress, right? So look, fortresses, towns, right? Temples, okay? Mountains, sources, right? Rivers and houses, right? Now the other source just said right here, boom. Let's go back here. It said that Avito observed that there was houses or temples. Now this is in South Carolina right here. We're gonna go into St. Augustine and show you what was going on in St. Augustine in a minute. But just to just for you to understand, right? And then we got other sources that show this right here, right? So I was going to go into this. Boom. We already showed what the so-called Timucua looked like, right? They already said that the Yamasees was Negroes who was here before Columbus. So now we got two. We got a tribe in Georgia that's living right above the Timucua, but the Timucua is living right across from them as well. When these people get in trouble, they go into St. Augustine where the Timucua is living as well. Now they both are Negroes. I mean, this is the image of the Timucua. And these are some images that they showing you that the Yamasees. I know it's a drawing, but we have to go with what we got. We have to go with what we got because we can go here too. We can go, let's see. We can go here too. Now look, these brothers think they're Yamasee, right? But they don't know. See, a lot of us, when we came into this history, we start dressing up like we start seeing the Native American dressing up, and we ain't never wear no shit like this ever. We ain't ever wear no shit like this. This is what Native Americans wore. And when we come into this, we're being taught by Native Americans. So therefore we think that Native American culture is our culture. This ain't our culture right here. None of this shit. Okay, but these are the Yamasees. Okay, these are the images of what they said the Yamasees, or these are Yamasee so-called Indians today. Okay, along with the fact that we got this image right here, which it may be some pseudo shit. They may have just made this shit up. We don't even know. But guess what though? It does cross reference with the fact that the mayor of Beaufort County said the Yamasee Indians were Negroes. So we got the Yamasee. We got a mirror of saying the Yamasees was Negro, because even when you get further into the Yamasee story, right, they gonna say that the Yamasees and runaway slaves, right, which became the Seminoles, right. You can't make this shit up. But nonetheless, though, right, the Yamasees are Negroes, which, all right, so these are the Indians that was black. They ran away with some other slave Indians, went into St. Augustine, where some other people was called the Timucuans, right? That looks just like this right here was there, right? So do any of this shit make any sense? And then we got the other map right here, right? We got this map showing that these people is living in the same regions, right? And then we got other sources that's telling us, right? We got other sources that's telling us that, along these lines right here and all through here, because I'm gonna show you St. Augustine in a minute, right? They had structures as well, right? Houses, temples. We cross-referenced that with what we found here in the in the right? The cities, fortresses, towns, right? Cities, fortresses, towns, sources, river houses. Okay, so it's like boom. So they showing you right here. Even when you get into Raffinquay information said that we had colleges here, nigga. So we had colleges. We had roads that went thousands and thousands of miles, nigga. This is what Raffinquay was saying in his book, The Primitive Black Nations of America, the Primitive Nations of America, whatever, right? He giving reference to the skin color, saying that these are Negroes, they're brown skin, copper colored people. He giving references saying that they found colleges here, that it was colleges here, nigga. You see, so these people just dumbed us down because of crack and because of heroin. A lot of our people is fucked up in the mind, and some of the other people because of the general education system that wanted you under what? They wanted you under this right here, right? Docility, right? Docile, easily taught, right? Easily taught, right? Easily led, easily easily led, nigga will lead your ass right off a goddamn roof, nigga, right? Or managed, right? That means that someone can manage your mind through their whole school system, right? So when these niggas reference shit, oh, I'm a scholar. Yeah, you are a student of a teacher, you right. Cause right now I'm the motherfucking teacher. So you Pan Africans and the rest of these people who doubt any of this information, you have to be critical about everything you read. Cause even when you pull up different articles, you pull up different topics, right? You pull up the same shit. I can pull up 10 different articles about the Yamasee War, and all of them different. But the one thing you're gonna say is that they went into St. Augustine territory, right? So once again, we already know we read the general education system, which a lot of people was under, right? Where was it at? Hold up, I think it was here. Oh no, it wasn't. It was on here. Let me see. It was this one. No, was it this one? Let me see. I got a bunch of shit pulled up. My bad, y'all. Oh, this was another thing I was looking at. I wanted to show y'all, right? So boom, this is something else I found, right? So this is a map of North Carolina, right? The Carolinas right here, right? North Carolina, Carolina, boom, 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 right? So is it this one? Let me see. It's this one, boom. So we'll keep it right there. Look at the Indian. Look, look what the, and this is a map of Carolina, right? And here go the cornucopia, boom, right? See, look, got the feather crown on. Now we know that this is some ancient shit right here, right? But can we find this shit anywhere else. Let's see if we can find them images anywhere, right? I mean, we can find a feather crown everywhere, all of this, all through everything that they've been showing us, right? Oh shit, let me see. I got something better for y'all. Wait, I remember that was in South Carolina. Let me see. No, I'm bad. It's not in that one. Let me see. It's in this one. And like I said, I mean, this is some lightweight shit. I've been wanting to do this um, with the commentary of what the lady was saying. But it's just too many connections, man, that it was already Negroes here. And anybody who is in doubt after all this time, bro, like, it's really at this point in time, like, really no reason to even be going back and forth with motherfuckers. Like, either you understand that you've been duped, and you can't really reference these people entirely when it comes to history. If you ain't know you've been duped and you've been lied to, you can't reference these people like that or use that shit ain't even in this one. Damn, I was trying to show y'all the video, but I can't find it. Let me see, maybe I do. Maybe it's up here. All right, that shit ain't in here. Hold up. I'm gonna go back here one more time. All right, I'm gonna just show it. Matter of fact, you know what? I don't want to really use the image of the Timucua, right? Because that's a different, like, that can be kind of question. I'm gonna find another Aboriginal with the feather crown on it and that whole little setup like you see on the map, and that's the map of Carolina. So we already know that the people that's on the maps are Negroes, regardless of how we may look at it. Like, just too much information that keep on, like, it's too much shit to cross reference. It's just too much shit at this point in time. Oh, we can use this. We can use this one. Look, I don't know what the fuck he's stepping on. It look like a fish or some shit. But look, same setup like we see on this goddamn map. Oh, right here. Same shit. Same shit. You have to be a fool not to see this. And this is another map of Carolina, in which we got other maps, plenty of other maps. But I'm just showing you that. Look, in Carolina, South Carolina, all that shit is in the same vicinity, as well as Georgia, and as well as Carolina. I mean, no, I'm sorry, as well as Florida, right? fuck they at? Oh, they right here. Boom. Look, same goddamn fucking Indian. And we see that, and look at the color of them. He's same color we see in all the other Indians, right? All these other motherfuckers, he look just like him, right? Same shit. So we supposed to believe, according to the information that we having that's presented to us, and all of these different lies, like even the whole tribal and all the these tribes was living right here and they ain't had no connection to that's bullshit. Niggas got people. Niggas go all the way across town to go see niggas that they know. So a motherfucker like right now I live in Irvington. You think it's you think I don't know people 5 miles away from my house in different cities? So you gotta kind of be critical when you think about this shit because they all of these people is the same goddamn people, bro. They just splitting them up and then making us confused and saying, well, damn, your family did this, and even when you do your genealogy, all Negroes do the most of the same shit. It's just whatever region. A nigga in Jersey don't eat crawfish, but we eat shrimp because there ain't no crawfish out here. But we eat grits, we eat okra, we eat all of the same shit. So it's like, come on, man. It's nowhere in the world these people are so closely to the Yamasee and the Gulllah when they went into St. Augustine, they didn't hook up with the Timucua. So they just ignored the Timucua and just went there on their own. The fuck out of here. Let's get back into this video.
They were just horrified and traumatized by what they witnessed on the island. Now, I sent you a picture. So somebody painted, and this is what it's the painting of. It's the colorful painting of the Timucuan doing a ceremony. Yes. And as you can see, there's a European looking guy in the corner talking to what appears to be a Timucuan. And in the middle of the picture, you see a rock. And
now look, you see how they try to make the Timucua, how they try to make them look. When we know that this is a fragment of the European mind to come up with some shit like this, right? But then we do got some Europeans that's telling the truth. That's telling the truth. Boom. That's telling the truth, right? Let's go there real quick, right? So I mean, I'm quite sure people that heard me go through this before, but let's the young powerful man. This is the same image I just showed you, just to show and prove. That's his feet. This is the actual image of him. Boom. Look. Okay. So look. Yeah, I was right here. Now, where the fuck was I at? All right, 17 since 1723 in the 9-cent Treasury Museum that really most originally of all possible means a presentation of a sculpture of a Moor, the young powerful man in dark brown lacquer, pure wood, and associated border of on a tray of tortoise shells, present casual and smooth. The Colombian emerald level is not a resident of Africa, but an Indian. Although facial features and skin color are a black Indian's, the body tattoos and analogical exactly represents him as well. No, have him as well as a native of Florida. Okay, so it's like it's all over the fucking place, my dude. When it comes to this history, man. And see these niggas when they see these type of image or that they automatically think of, oh, these is Africans automatically. They don't never, even when you get sources to tell us that it was already Negroes in America or whatever. I'm talking about the millions. This is not no couple hundreds of thousands. It's whole nations of Negroes over here. Whole nations. Yeah, they did kill some of us off, and most of a lot of us got killed off through um more the more present times. The more present times. You don't know how many Negroes got killed in World War I and II. You don't know how many experiments or the shit that they was doing with with syphilis and all this other shit and radiation and all these other experiments. You don't know how many people crack killed off. You don't know how many abortions killed babies off. So look how many people died as a result to just them different casualties and these them different fatalities. So they ain't this shit that happened to us happened recently. Okay, let me get back into it, man. Matter of fact, let me see what y'all saying real quick, cause I don't know if I'm gonna probably do a part two to this, but I wanted to definitely go into what Doctor Longo was saying about Stone Eyes um, 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 so hey man, let me see something. Yeah, yeah, but the Timucua wasn't just in Florida. That's what she's saying, that the Timucua was on Jekyll Island, right?
There's a woman, it looks like a woman bowing before the rock.
Right.
That is a Canaanite sacrifice altar. So the French had this painting, and they had this painting on Jekyll Island, and this guy was like, wait a minute. That's what you could see the woman rushing up with the baby.
With the baby, yeah.
So the guy that found all this out, he was like, hold on, hold the phone. This is not Native American. This is Canaanite. I am well versed in this. This is what I do for a living. I'm in and out of the Middle East. This is a Canaanite practice. They're about to sacrifice a baby. This is a Canaanite practice. And so the guy he was talking with that works on Jekyll Island was like, oh, well, those altars are under all of the buildings here on Jekyll Island. So these psychopaths built their buildings. I mean, I'm not talking about, well, the Timucua obviously weren't completely good, but I'm talking about the JP Morgans. They built their building on top of all these altars. So there you go. Well, okay. They leave Jekyll Island in 1733. So many years later. So in 1733. So let's go back. Official colony of the Crown. So his home base was in Savannah. There's lots about Oglethorpe in Savannah, and he made Georgia a prisoner colony. So I will say, for Australians watching this, that's what Georgia and you have. The Australians watching this, that's what Georgia and you have in common. They were bringing them without choice to the New World, and they were dumping them in the state of Georgia, or the colony of Georgia. Georgia is obviously named after King George, who we ended up winning our independence from.
If that did happen, that would explain why. I mean, we know, and that story right there, they wouldn't come in here dumping no people off like that. We would have killed them. That wasn't going down like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like, even when we hear these stories, people not smart enough to know that their ancestors just wasn't acquiescent to just people coming here. In a lot of cases, these people that they saying came here that was prisoners was the Slavs that was put on these plantations, man.
Oglethorpe named Jekyll Island after a man named Joseph Jekyll, and he was an English lawyer who actually helped finance Oglethorpe's expedition. He sent him £600, which would be about $67,000 in today's money. So it's interesting that he was a financier, and this island became owned by financiers. Interesting thing about Joseph Jekyll is that he also helped the crown get out of some debt. When he died, he left 20,000 pounds to the crown, which was about $2 million that he left to try to help England pull itself out of debt. So that's interesting. So that's where Jekyll Island gets its name. It's from this financier. Well, then after America won its independence from Great Britain in 1790, the island became owned by a French family that helped in the American Revolution. And again, the French helped us, and they helped us fight against England. And then they had their...
She lying again. Ain't no French people come over here and take over no fucking islands. That's a fucking another fucking lie. Like, think of it like this, man. Wasn't nobody just giving them that land like that, man. You know what I'm saying? And even among the so-called Gulllah and the Gitsi people that's there, them people don't know where they came from. They're only being persuaded to say that they African. Them people inhabited them islands all that time while French people... So them people that like the Gulllah Geechee that think they from Africa, right? These people inhabited them islands out there while the French coming in and moving the island right across from them, and they don't know what's going on, and they not curious and saying, these strange people, get the fuck out of here, man. Wasn't nobody just moving up on no islands like that. Wasn't no French coming here. They saying people who coming back as returnees who was already in unity or who was already united with the nations that was already here. So,
revolution as well, which is where we get the Paysour family from. So this was the patriarch of this French family. He settled on Jekyll Island after the American Revolution, and he started to farm cotton. Now, I don't know much about the original. His name was Christopher, the original owner from this French family. I'm not even going to try to say their name because I don't want to butcher it. My French is terrible.
What's mine?
It's awful. It's terrible. So I don't even want to try to butcher it. But the original guy's name was Christopher, and I don't know much about him. We just know he was he farmed cotton, and he passed the island down through his family. Well, by 1886, it ended up with his descendant, this guy named John, who was a banker. So John knew...
So look, she said what year? 1866, right? So now we getting past the Civil War, right? So this is when a lot of them people, when they went on Jekyll Island and had that meeting on there, this is when whatever they did to the people there, or whatever methods, because remember, the Rockefellers and all these people that was there, they was part of the Knights of the Golden Circle. So who knows how they ran them people off them islands? You see what I'm saying? So you got to kind of put a lot of stuff in perspective. Ain't no French man occupied none of them fucking islands, man. Them islands are always occupied by us. And as of lately, because they're still pushing people off them islands who've been living there for how no long. They probably been living there since this fucking land been above water. We don't know how long but like I said, you know, they give you these perspectives and make you think that, oh, just people just was pulling up to the Americas like that. How was they just pulling up like that? How? So people were just inhabiting land that was inhabited by Indians, and Indians just ran away and just, like I said, a lot of this stuff don't make no goddamn sense. It's these people rewriting shit, and because our ancestors may have left certain documentations dealing with your family and what your family was doing. All this whole history that's being written is being rewritten by these people. None of us is going back right. We only writing their history, and we taking sources from some of these people, which sometimes we can find some of these Europeans who are sincere and do want the truth to come out, but then sometimes they hide the truth among lies.
J.P. Morgan pretty well. They were pretty chummy. So he would invite him down from New York to go on hunting trips on the island. Now, they said they hunted duck. My mom's family, my mom grew up in like that area. They're from that area. So, but in South Carolina, and like I go fishing. Like I don't understand these hunting trips, but we'll get back to the hunting trips because it's go fishing. Like So anyway, he was really good friends with J.P. Morgan. Now he is the one that convinced Morgan to get all of his comrades, his gang, to buy into this island. So in 1886, the Jekyll Island Club was created. I think I sent you an older picture of it in newer.
Now remember, bro, at this point in time, because look, I don't even want to pull up the slave manual, because if I go into the slave manual, I'm gonna show you in South Carolina, on all them islands, Negroes inhabited, all slaves on all them islands. But nonetheless, though, right? Remember, the Knights of the Golden Circle and the KKK was created like in the late 1850s. We know a secret society organization that was created by the Democrats. Certain it was definitely Aborigines involved in this shit. Definitely, right? But the Aborigines that was involved with the KKK, they was they didn't have our best interest, and they was trying to get us out. They were trying to sell us out, sell their own people out, right? KKK was established. So by 1866, right, you start getting these, because remember the KKK is, I mean, the Knights of the Golden Circle was the terrorist branch of the military of the Ku Klux Klan. So their job was to go around and create havoc, like the same way they do now, how they do the fucking economical hitmen. This is where the shit started from. It started from them. And it started from our own people going into our own places, causing havoc. Just like you get agents now, check out the shit with Black Panther name up in Chicago. They made the movie and they always got a Negro. The same thing with Malcolm X organization. Same thing with all these organizations. They put plants in the organizations just like, I mean, that look just like you. And this has been going on forever. And there was other black people who had other black people going around reporting or doing espionage work among us, reporting back to them. And the Europeans that was up, a lot of them was mulattoes and a lot of them was pawns.
Picture it's still, so the Jekyll Island Club is what is the resort today. So that's why I'm saying the people that work there, we got to be respectful of that. There are people that rely on that for income right now. So that main big Jekyll Island Club was the main club for, no, that's the Rockefeller House, which we'll get to.
Okay.
It's a more, if you can't pull it up, it's no big deal. People.
I started off with Rockefeller, right? The general education system, right? We also know that according to certain sources, it says that Frank James, which was part of the Knights of Golden Circle or whatever, right? He is the Rockefeller, right? The father Rockefeller, and some of the other what's his name, Booth, John Wilkins Booth. His family is either the DuPonts. They even stole their identity, the DuPonts or the Carnegies or whatever. Because his mission, because Frank James' mission was to get John Wilkins Booth out and then act like he died and change his identity. But we'll get into that on another note though. But I'm gonna continue.
Can Google it and find it. So that's the Rockefeller House then, which all these tycoons had built. They had this. And then they had their own little cottages. So that's Rockefeller's house. Mm-hmm. Now, underneath, this is the house where the Federal Reserve.
These people took over these houses. These people ain't go there and build none of them houses. These people took over them houses. You know what I'm saying? These people ain't can construct these houses in that little bit of time. And if you go and look at the layout of the art of the island, you'll see a lot of them buildings did. We don't know. They look just like the rest of the buildings we see in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, or whatever, and we see throughout the Americas. And they built with that certain material that sticks out from how they building projects now, and how a lot of buildings was built in the early 1900s.
Was created. In Rockefeller's house, in his foyer, underneath the table, which is the picture you just showed, was the table. Underneath that table, under the floorboard, yes, that table. So look at that picture. Underneath that floorboard is a child sacrifice altar from the Timucua tribe. Underneath that table. Probably with bloodstains still on it. So that is where the Federal Reserve was created, on top of a child sacrifice Canaanite child sacrifice altar Christian. They'll say that whatever. They're not. They're Canaanite. So that pisses me off that they put their money on top of an altar where they sacrifice. And they knew this. As evil as the global elite is, they're not dumb. They're not idiots. They're smart. That's why they get away with what they get away with. They're very, very, very intelligent. So this isn't just, oops, we didn't know. They totally knew. And I'm sure this French family knew as well. Well, the French family that sold the island to this group, he also was a member. He moved off the island, but he was still a member of their little secret club. And he was in banking. So every family bought 2 of the 100 shares into Jekyll Island. Jekyll Island at this point, by 1886, held 1/6 of the world's wealth. That is how much the queen is 1/6 of the world's wealth today.
So I'm just going to kind of like elaborate on this too, right? And we also got to take in consideration that this may have occurred too, right? The stories that they telling you about the Yamasee leaving them certain areas was recently. That's how they got hold of that island. That shit ain't happened back in no 1700s or no none of this shit just happened probably the late 1800s, early 1900s, where these people are going into Florida and some of these other places. I know history may tell you something different, but it doesn't make no sense because you got Negroes inhabiting all them islands out there, and Jekyll Island. They ran them Negroes off of Jekyll Island, and we don't know what means that they used, but we know that they ran a lot of them Negroes off of Jekyll Island for them to come there and be able to do what they did, just like they did everywhere else.
That's how much money was on this island. So these families included obviously the Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, yes, Anderson Cooper. I hate to say I hate people, but like I hate Anderson Cooper. I just would have a really hard time not just punching him in the face if I saw him.
I hear you.
I just can't even like watch it. Anyway, the Goodyears. So the Goodyears were also a family that was part of this little hunting club on Jekyll Island. Of course, Goodyear Tire recently got their ass handed to them because they spoke out against President Trump and all these people who just boycotted Goodyear. So they're one of those families in the Pulitzers. They're one of the Pulitzer Prize. So this island became super private at this point. At this point, to get to the island, you had to take a boat. There was no bridge, no causeway. You had to take a boat. No one was allowed on the island unless invited, and people caught on the island without permission were heavily persecuted. Have hunting trees. Now we know about humans.
Well, we know that the European royals still do it to the day.
Now look, how ironic is that? She's saying they're not saying that they was hunting humans, but why would she throw that in there? What humans was they hunting?
Yeah, I've done entire reports on that, and we've talked about it, and that was going to be my big question. They weren't hunting ducks.
No,
they were hunting humans.
They were hunting humans.
Yeah, you see how David just came in and how he just elaborated and just made her double down on what she, you know what I'm saying? Like made her confess that she know that they was hunting humans. So this would be an example of how the fuck they took over that island.
They were hunting humans. I mean, I'm not a hunter. I'm a vegetarian, but I grew up. My dad, even though he's a vet, he was a hunter. Like I grew up around people hunting and duck calls, and I might be mistaken, but it doesn't seem like sitting on an island is going to be where you're going to hunt ducks. Like that just doesn't, But of course, nobody, until now, we were all just completely asleep to what was actually happening.
Who was they hunting again? What the people look like? Said Timucuans was there. This is what they look like. Cause remember, we got evidence that Yamasees was there in them places too. And they already said that the Yamasees are Negroes, right? Whether you think that they're Africans who came here before 1492, or these people have always been here, along with these people as well, right? So we know who they was hunting, and we know how they got that land now because she just spilled the beans.
Happening. So these families would invite other elite to their island, just like Jeffrey Epstein did. They would invite them to come to this island during the winter, this is their winter getaway, to participate in these parties. And when they would have the elites from Europe, they're all their cronies all over the world. The island at that point would consist of 2/3 of the world's wealth. And that's how powerful all these people were. And that how still how I mean they're all the same people. It's all
So what was on that island that was so imperative that these people put all the 2/3 of the world's wealth on it? Visualize that for me, people. Let me see something. Let's just go take a little. What was on them islands? Hmm? Yeah, eat. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Let me see something. I'm trying to click this shit on. There you go, right there. It says the first rule in hunting is eat what you kill. Shout out, man. Peace, man. Damn. Yeah, Roger W. You talking about them galas? See, yeah, I mean, I'm a chef, so I've seen some of the shit that these people be doing or whatever. But let's get back into it though. Boom, we gonna get back. Peace of the gods, peace of the goddesses. Your boy is back.
the same family, still powerful. Just so you guys have a list. So it literally was the original Epstein Island. Like, hands down, Epstein Island. You had to be invited. It was super exclusive. There was no, in fact, it was Jekyll Island, and you could get like totally into all this, but a lot of the housekeepers have hearing the party. You can still hear.
Yeah, I had this up. I might as well share it. Just wait for this joint to come up. Alright, so Jekyll Island. Let me see something. Let's see the map real quick. Okay, where the fuck is the map at? Oh, there you go, right there. Alright, boom. So look. Alright, so look. This is Jekyll Island right here. Right? See something? Now, I don't know. I know some of y'all from South Carolina out there, right? Now, look. Alright, check this out. I'm going to zoom all the way out. Boom. Now, look. I know some of y'all from, look, all these islands right here is all together. All these islands are all close in the same proximity as where Jekyll Island's at, right here. And these is where they set all these people inhabit the Gulllah, the Yamasee, and not just on the islands, but inland as well, right? And look, so look, you got Jacksonville right here. Let's see something real quick. St. Augustine right here. Look where St. Augustine is at. Bam, right here. And this would be, let me see. So right here, St. Augustine would be right here. Let's look at that map real quick. And let's see something. And look where the Timucua is at. Right there in the same fucking area. What I tell you, same fucking area, right? Look, the same fucking area, my dude. Look, and Jekyll Island would be one of these islands right here. That's off the coast right here, right? Probably this one right here because it was kind of lengthy. It was kind of long, right? Probably one of these islands right here. But look, Timucua right here, sitting right on top. We see the little arch at. Let me see. Let's go back. Boom. St. Augustine. Right here. Look, right here where you see that little arch at. Look, boom. With a little crescent, what they call a crescent right here. This is where the Timucua land was at. All of this shit right here. Okay, so and I'm quite sure that they went further in because even on this they got the other tribe at the bottom right here. Let's see, the Calusa, right? But the Calusa was a part of the Tim. All these tribes was all the fucking same, bro. These people ain't had no fucking different practices. They was doing the same goddamn thing. That's what made the Yamasee come and the Gulllah come into St. Augustine to join the Timucua. Because they was already Timucua. So let's get back into it. Well, look, let's take one more look at the map. So we got St. Augustine right here, right? So and we got Jekyll Island right here. That ain't really that fucking far, bro. Driving. That ain't that far. That shit's probably like maybe 100 miles away. Maybe. Might not even be that far for anybody who in South Carolina. But I know all of these other islands are the same other islands. If I look Google Helen, Saint Helen, and Google some of them other islands where the Gulllah is at, they will be right in this vicinity right here. Okay, they'll be right in this fucking vicinity. So
crazy, crazy parties. A lot like the parties that the Rockefellers had, and crazy costumes, and we kind of understand what happened at these parties. And I guarantee you, I have no proof of this. Nobody has proof of this, I'm sure, because it's happened long before any of us were alive. I'm sure they were sacrificing people. I'm sure they were using those altars. I'm sure. And I'm sure that's why they bought the island, because they realized that this was a Canaanite island and they're Canaanite. This is their religion. This is all about their religion. So, anyway, so we know that now here's this.
now once again, for anybody in the chat room that like I do not believe what this lady's saying in her entire video, but she are saying some key points that we are able to cross reference to the Timucua and the Yamasee and the Gulllah and the Gitche and the Gulllah as well, right? So just like I said, those that just came in here, don't think that I'm promoting what this lady's saying. I'm only connecting the dots with the Timucua to these islands that's in South Carolina because they showing you that the Timucua was in St. Augustine and the Yamasee and the Gulllah, according to them, after they pushed them out that area, they went into St. Augustine with the Timucua. So, like I said, none of this stuff actually makes sense. The only thing that would make sense is that the Timucua and the Yamasee, the Gulllah, the Gitche, the Gulllah, the Tuscarora, all of them motherfuckers are the goddamn same.
The thing. So Rockefeller, the house, all the historic buildings on the island, they're all registered as historic landmarks. So what that means.
Listen, historic landmarks. She gets said it. All the buildings there are historic. They ain't historic landmarks because they built it in the 1900s. They're historic landmarks because them shit's been there. And these people, like they said, they's having them hunting parties on there, killing the people on the West End and taking over their fucking and taking over their abandoned properties like they do now.
Is we can't tear them down. We can't go in there and pull these altars up. They're protected by government. So in the to this day, they're protected by the government. Those altars are still underneath those houses. So and after World War II, so around 1947, the state of Georgia took over the island, actually bought it from these families for a huge price, which, did they need the money? That's whatever. But they sold it to the state, and the state kind of kept it very isolated. They used it from 1951 to 1954. They held convicts on the island, which I didn't know. So they had...
Look, so they held convicts on the island, right? So they had to have buildings. They probably turned the fort, because I'm going to look up and see what buildings is on Jekyll Island in a minute now. Because now, it more than likely was a fucking fort there, and they turned the same fort into a prison, like we see all the Alcatraz, Broadway State Prison, all of these places, all upstate New York, everywhere. We see, except the new ones that was just built. A lot of these old prisons was forts, and they just converted them shits into motherfucking prisons, man.
forced labor on the island, where they were having these convicts go there and like build things. And in
Is there a prison there?
prison, no, I don't know if there's still one around there. There wasn't one on the island. They would just send them to the island.
Okay.
There's not one on the island though. The island now is a luxury resort. You have to have a lot of money to go to that. It's public. You can drive onto the island and spend the day there. I think it's like $5 to get on, but the resort is pretty. It's pretty exclusive. So in 1954, this forced labor built the causeway, which is a bridge that goes from the mainland to the island that Jekyll Island still has. In 1980, and then in 1978, they listed it as a historical landmark. So everything done to this point, you're not tearing down the Rockefeller House, you're not tearing down all this stuff. And then once we have that historical landmark stamp on these buildings, they can't be touched. And, the whole historical landmark stuff, I think, is great most of the time. It's awesome to have that protection so that we preserve our history. But the fact that, like, Rockefeller's house can't be touched and there's a freaking altar underneath the table and probably still with blood on it, and you can't even get into the house. Like, so if you're staying on the island, you can go walk around the house. You can look in the windows. But you can't.
Well, they didn't like section roped off.
Yeah, they might have to. I don't know. I bet him so that he would pray over the table. He wouldn't pray over the table because they could not get to the sacrificial altar to pull it up. So now, for the people that I'm sure when they wanted me to go into Jekyll Island, again, they wanted me to go deeper into the Federal Reserve. But again, this story took a little different turn. But I will say, we know that J.P. Morgan created the panic of 1907. We talked about that with the Federal Reserve. These people they're still doing that. They're still pushing and pulling the stock market.
Absolutely.
So J.P. Morgan was the person who arranged the meeting on Jekyll Island to develop the Federal Reserve. Now, Aldrich, we know this is the Aldrich plan, was the Federal Reserve, was a cousin to both J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers. So, again, all of these people are related. They're all related. Even if they have different last names, they're on each other's Christmas card list. Like, they're all related. Now, he invited prominent men in the U.S. government to go duck hunting on Jekyll Island in 1910. Now, these men, here's what's interesting about this too. Like, if it's just a duck hunting party with your colleagues in government, why the secrecy? The men were instructed to only give their first names on the New Jersey train station so no one would know who they were. They became known as the First Name Club. So they didn't want anybody knowing they were going to Jekyll Island. They wanted it to be kept a secret from the American people, even though it was only just a duck. It was only just a duck hunting party. That's all it was. We've got to keep it a secret, though, from the American people. So, and again, in the Federal Reserve issue, we talked about the Titanic and all that other stuff that you guys can remember, all the fighting that was going back and forth between establishing this and not establishing this. And I will say, too, because of I heard another researcher say, and I thought this was super fascinating, because of the Treaty of 1871, which we talked about in our Federal Reserve episode, where it set us up to go into the Federal Reserve because it created us as a corporation. That means that every president after 1871 technically is null and void. They were not our presidents. So that means that Trump is our 17th president, which number 17 is huge right now. So that's interesting. That's a side note that would make
you follow Q.
Yeah, that would make him our 17th president because we believe, because the Treasury took over the Federal Reserve in February, it is believed that treaty is done, that we are now.
So if you know anything about what she's saying, right? That's going back to the United States for America. And she's saying that all of the other, it was only 17 presidents. And them 17 presidents, probably with the exception, because they probably going to say JFK, 2 of the 17 presidents was all, 15 of the 17 presidents more than likely was all Negroes. And that would be your, what the fuck they call that? The continental, what's the name? That would be that part right there. That would be United States. No, the United States for America was the shit we had. The United States of America is what she's talking about right now.
Free and independent, which we'll see more of that, I think, after the election. So that means that Trump is our 17th president, not our 45th. So, anyway, so that's just an interesting little trivia there. So the meeting was kept completely secret actually until 1930. Now there were a lot of people that were whistleblowers after this meeting, trying to tell people that these guys had met on this island. This is something shady. Like Woodrow Wilson signed this in a meeting in the middle of the night during one of the most satanic times of year for them. Like, this is shady. They got called what we're called now, crazy nutbags, conspiracy theorists.
Right.
It wasn't until 1930 when Aldrich, in his autobiography, actually outed them and said, yeah, this meeting took place. So 1930 was when the cat was out of the bag. Was like, yeah, but too late now. You're already in it. You know, we already have this global bank going on. And again, we talked a lot about Jacob Schiff, and that is the ancestor of Adam Schiff. And Jacob Schiff was a mastermind with J.P. Morgan. With both of them created the Federal Reserve. So bloodline. That's Adam Schiff's family. And they're both obviously connected to the Rothschilds and worked as their agent. So now what I want to go back before we even get into Cumberland Island, which I want to talk about too a little bit.
Good.
But
And remember what she said in the beginning. She said that the Timucuans used Jekyll Island as like a Washington D.C. So that must means that the structures that's on Jekyll Island was constructed by the Timucuan. Showed you another source that was similar to saying that they had houses and temples on in the particular sea islands out there, and the Guale, they was comparing the Guale, saying that the Guale could have done this, but it was similar to the Timucuan structures, right? Now, I just wanted to add that because that's what she started with, though. But we're gonna get through this in a minute. I'm gonna probably have to make a part two, though. But let's get back into it.
again, 1985, the club in the island was opened as a luxury resort. It remains that way today. You can book a vacation on Jekyll Island. Very expensive luxury resort, but it's still that way today. It's funny, we know a lot of people who have gotten married on Jekyll Island, and as I was preaching, I kept looking at my boyfriend going, do they even know they got married on top of like a child sacrifice? I mean, sometimes ignorance is bliss, but maybe we should tell them like they should go renew their vows or something.
And what does that say about fertility, right?
Right, like nobody knows this. Like, this is so secret. You know, they didn't know. I don't know anybody that would voluntarily get married on top of a sacrifice altar. They didn't know. It was just a beautiful resort, right? So yeah, that's what we say. We have to be a little bit forgiving, especially with the employees. We don't want to like make them lose their job, or yeah, we got to be very careful about that stuff and let things take their time, and everything will clear itself out eventually. So let's go back now. So we have to if we now know that through an archaeologist, through somebody who is trained in this, that the Timucuan were Canaanite. We know now that even though they're classified as native, we now know that they were Canaanite and they were Nephilim, right? We have the bones to prove they were 8 feet tall.
Now remember, 7 feet tall ain't that tall. My father's family, I think like 6 of his brothers is over 6'6". So for like like the Georgian or the southern area, it's not like like you find a lot of brothers and sisters that has height to them within the South. You know what I'm saying? Mainly of all the regions, you find most of the Negroes within the Americas that do have that are over the average height. What's the average height? 5'10". These what they call giants. So just keep that in mind, right? And like I said, even when she said the Timucuan was Canaanites, like don't get so caught up into the Bible and like what the like the reference to the to the Timucuans in the Bible. Don't get so caught up into that. Try to figure out, well, what similarities did they have? And she just said that they did so-called rituals, or give the firstborn to Baal, or that would be what the fuck, Motar? Is it Motar? What the fuck is the name of the cow and shit with the fire in the stomach? And they say that they used to sacrifice the firstborn to the fucking I forgot the cow name, whatever. But that's a whole nother story though. But I'm not saying maybe the Timucua, maybe this was a I don't know. I'm not saying that. I haven't found no research to explain that. Or maybe what she think are sacrificial lambs. I mean, with not sacrificial lamb, but sacrificial temples. They're really just burial grounds, like I was showing you in this book right here. This is what this book was saying. This book was right here. Look. I'm gonna read it again, right? Just for people who coming into this, right? So this book is called. Let's go to the beginning. This the investigations of the Gulllah Aborigines of the Georgian coastal strand, right? Remember, Georgia was part of Florida, so we know that, right? So in this book, right? Now think about it. She keep on saying that some of these altars was for sacrifices. I don't believe that. Check this out, right? So it's saying, all right, right here. We already read this. Described as a mortuary, right? As having been subterranean and a wattle and that dab construction. The ground plan was square with a round corner. Now, what he's doing is he's giving you he's giving you a description to how the so-called mortuary. He says it's a mortuary, right? Now, this is dealing with the Gulllah or the Guale and the Timucuans, right? The ground plan was square with rounded corners. There was a projecting entrance passage, whatever. It says similar ground plan is described by Orvieto. It's saying Valdez for the whatever Galupe. It's saying by which he may possibly have met Guale. It's saying, but his description of the building material does not fit well with the present site or archaeology finding. Avito observed that there was houses or temples in which what? In which the dead was buried. Okay, now look, this book right here is talking about the whole Gulllah coast. So it's just not talking about like one particular island. In this book they make reference to the coast of from what we get seen right here in this right here. This whole coast. This whole coast from right here all the way down to the bottom of Florida was called the Gullah coast. All this shit was called the Gullah. You know what I'm saying? When you get into it, right? All this was called the Gullah, right? But however it go, they making reference to saying that they found mortuaries and that they found structures saying in which the dead was buried, but described them as having walls of stone about 8 or 9 feet high, set in a mortar made of oyster shell. It's saying the rest being constructed in pine wood, right? In Pinewood. So it says Stratton Point here seems well taken that Ivado is saying is apparently referring to the lime cement or tabby construction material, and that at least some aspects of his housing description may have been colored by his impression of the Timucua construction. So he's saying that the description that this is what the guy who's doing the dissertation is saying. He's making that insert to saying that because they're comparing in some cases they're comparing the Guale and saying that the Guale was the Timucua even in this book, right? But then they also are pointing out the differentiate of the culture, which they don't know the fucking culture because it's all bullshit. Right, so look, they know aspects of the culture. The real culture is that we had the science from 0 to 9. Ain't none of this. A lot of the shit that they telling us, which in this book they actually are saying that we built shit as of what I just read right here, right? But he's saying an impression of the Timucuan constructions, okay, meaning buildings, etc. Right? So that's the going to what she's saying that they had on Jekyll Island, to where these might have just been burial grounds for people who died there. You know what I'm saying, or for the ancestors.
So now we have to take an alternative look at American history. And my assumptions, I have different ideas of what could have happened. Everything is coming from research. Well, I don't think we're going to totally know the truth until the truth is ready to be revealed to everybody. And it is interesting. A few weeks ago, I think it was on Constitution Day, Donald Trump had a huge to do press conference meeting where all these professors were coming in to restructure our educational system. So that was huge. That he is trying to now restructure how children are taught, because we've been given a pretty bunk history. So if you guys can remember back to...
Just for anybody who want to know, a mortuary is a funeral home or morgue, like a mausoleum. Like how you see the Italians and shit got mausoleums. They got that shit from the Moors in Italy and Sicily and Rome. So the mausoleum, a mausoleum would be like what? It say a funeral home or morgue. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, a mortuary also can have, like, you have certain funeral homes to where they got certain mausoleum plots to put the dead, to bury the dead.
The Georgia Guidestones. We talked a little bit about the Rosicrucians, which was Sir Francis Bacon. A lot of the people that were very interested in the American continent were Rosicrucians, which they believed was the fallen continent of Atlantis. There might be truth to that. Okay? We have places that were not native but date back before the Native Americans. So there might be truth to that. I don't know. Only time will tell.
Even like I said, some things she's saying is out of ignorance that she don't really know. She don't really know according to the research and the people who she researching. But you just heard what she did say, that some people refer to America as Atlantis, right? And we see that along that line right there with South Carolina, right here. This is where they saying that a lot of this area right here, boom. And even right here, right in this area is where them pyramids is at, that's buried underwater, right? So, there's a lot of people referencing Florida, with Atlantis and all that. I'm not saying you have to buy into that, but at this point in time, brothers and sisters, man, what they don't put out there, you should be more curious about the shit that you find just off, what I'm saying, you find by default. The information you find by default, you should be more curious to why these so-called scholars or these teachers or these professors in the institutions don't have the same curriculum to other information and evidence that you find it. Meaning that it's being concealed. It's being concealed. These Negroes, these Pan-Africans, a lot of these other Negroes that come on here, they keep on talking, oh, black people was enslaved. Nigga, look, it shows you that blacks owned slaves, nigga, by a large majority. Sometimes I might exaggerate and say millions of them, but we never really counted them to see how many it was. But I know it's over 100,000 of them. I do know that much. So all this time you got Negro, all this time where they treating niggas bad, and you got all of these, you need abolitionists. So the same time when the abolitionists are trying to free the so-called black slaves, you have black slave owners by thousands in all of these places, South Carolina, Louisiana, Florida, all of these fucking places. So that right there tell you that the history, and you can't run into that information and just be like, oh, well, this is what, man, get the fuck out of here, nigga. They lying about everything. I damn sure don't believe their explanation for this at this point. If you take their explanation and you try to make it sound reasonable, how all of these so-called thousands and thousands of Negroes who was brought over here on the slave ship got free and ended up owning slaves and was living free, that white people wasn't coming in lynching them and taking their land. No, because they were slaves. They didn't have no power. After 1865 is when they started to allow some of these people to have some power, as long as they did their bidding. Because these people wasn't nothing but pawns to take what we had and give it to these people as we know it now. When we say the military branch, Washington, D.C., the 10 by 10 square miles, or the religious branch would be Rome, or the financial branch would be London. So let's get back into this, man.
So they were super interested in this magical land. They saw the American continent as being a very magical place. We know that the elite are very much into sorcery, they're wizards, they're witches. They know how to work nature in a very sinister way. So there was a lot of interest in the American continent. I believe
Hold up real quick. I just want to get a mic check. Oh, my bad. You know what? I ain't have my fucking what's the name down. My bad. Good looking, Sister Betty. Y'all can hear me better now, right? My bad. I was doing all that talking, but y'all can hear me better now? Peace, peace, peace. Press one if you guys can hear me. And press one also, well, press two if you guys can hear the video. Let's see. All right, so we good? Because I had to just move. Okay, all right, bet. All right, so let's get back into it. So, all right.
my personal opinion is that the global elites, all the royal families, knew that this continent was here long before Christopher Columbus or the Vikings ever came here. I think Christopher Columbus in 1492, I think that was kind of their disclosure, if you will, to the world. I think that they had been coming to the American continent for a while to get resources here. I know that the global elite were very, very, very fascinated by Native Americans, especially some of their rituals. And some of them even tried to marry into Native American tribes, so they could learn some of their magic or their root magic, all that kind of stuff. So that is my personal belief that they knew this continent was there. And as other explorers started to go out more, there was going to come a time where they were going to have to disclose it. And so Ferdinand and Isabel used Christopher Columbus, because they funded his expedition, to oh, look, there's land here. Yeah. Oh, wow,
Look, all that shit she gets said is bullshit. Because Ferdinand and Isabella was the people that was trying to push the Moors that was on my mic low again, my bad, sorry about that. All that shit she gets said was bullshit, because Ferdinand and Isabella was the ones that was fighting for Rome to so-called try to convert the Moors that was in the port of Gaul and in Andalusia, what we call Spain today. So, as a result of that shit happening over there, the whole Roman and Catholicism system happening, they always knew that this place existed because their ancestors came from the Amaru. Now I know, like I said, I know some of this shit sound far-fetched, but when you start researching and you start tracing a lot of this stuff, people are saying shit that they shouldn't be saying. They should not be saying, oh, America was the first land out of water, America had the greatest empire, and the people from here had trade routes all around the goddamn world. I should not be finding research or documentation that supports that. So let's get back into it.
We know that the Vikings were here. We know that they came into Canada, so that they long before Christopher Columbus. So I was taught that the name America came from a man named Amerigo Vespucci, who lived from 1454 to 1512. Well, that is not true. Amerigo Vespucci's real name was Albergo Vespucci. He only changed his name to Amerigo after America was founded. So that's something that I'm sure a lot of people were taught that is not correct. That's a little slip of the hand there. So where do we get the name America from? Now this made me really mad, and
I saw your notes and I know where you're going, and this is fascinating.
I had to really take a step back and breathe and thank God for President Trump, because now like I said, in my opinion, the whole earth is holy. There's nothing not holy about this land. It was all created by God. It was all created, its beauty, its wonder, its resources, its roots were created for us, and this group have perverted it. So with that being said, I do believe that we can go back and bless it and change it, and the earth can heal itself. All these, Epstein Island can be healed, Jekyll Island can, everything. So where does the name America come from? It comes from a Nicaraguan tribe called the Americ. Now, the Americ tribe was another tribe that was very Canaanite in their practices. So they practiced human sacrifice, and they worshipped a serpent god. There were other tribes in that land that also worshipped a serpent god. Now, we understand that in the Bible, Lucifer, in the very beginning, Genesis, takes the shape of a serpent. That's huge symbology, and that, no, not all snakes are bad. That's just, not, owls aren't bad either. I know they use owls a lot. I'm like, you can still be a fan of snakes and owls and still understand that's where they get this from. So America translates to the land of the plumed serpent, or the land of Lucifer. That's what America translates to, the land of Lucifer. So this is quite a slap across the face of all of our ancestors. Most of our ancestors came here for religious freedom. Our original Constitution was very clear that there is an entity higher than government, and that is God. So I don't mean to say that to make anybody mad, but this is just something we're going to have to look at and understand where it came from and why it came from. So of course we know that the Canaanites, the global elite, worship Lucifer. They think of Lucifer as the light bearer. And so that's where we get this name Illuminati from, is the bringer of light, because he challenged God, right? So for them, us eating from the tree of good and evil, of knowledge, was not a bad thing. That was illuminating us, giving us intelligence. Anyway, so that was a perversion. So now we're coming here, and we're coming to this beautiful land that was created by God. The continent has been given the name in homage to Lucifer, unbeknownst to our ancestors. Our ancestors are now engaging in the American Revolution. They're starting this fight to end this global domination. And then we have the Act of 1871 that brings us back into it. And the Federal Reserve is being used in a Canaanite area because they love their rituals. They love their sacrifices. So now we get deeper into an alternative history. Since we understand that, how in the world did Canaanites end up in the American continent? Like, how is that even possible? Because we know that the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, they're from the Middle East. We understand that biblically, historically, that's where they are from. So how did they end up here in America? If these scientists, if these archaeologists are saying, no, they're classified as Native Americans, but they don't seem to be Native American, they seem to be actual Canaanite people. Well, I've got some ideas. We do know that the land was connected at one point. That's one idea, that the whole of the earth was connected and the Tower of Babel fell, and that's when things divided and people started speaking a different language. That's a theory that they got here because of that. Mm-hmm. Another theory that I have, and this kind of gets into the Book of Mormon, which I've studied the Book of Mormon. I'm not a Mormon. I apologize to anybody who's Mormon watching. I love my Mormon friends. They're so nice and kind, and I really love my friends, but I believe Joseph Smith was a con artist. Yeah. However, the Book of Mormon talks about a group of Jewish people, Nephi, being directed by God to sail to the New.
Remember what I said, people. Duck some of the shit she's saying. She is making references to some of the stuff that we know, but a lot of it's biblical and it's religion shit. Please understand, I do not agree with this, okay? And I don't agree with some of the other shit she say. But the agreeable part is the Timucuans in South Carolina, and she's about to say something else that connects us here.
New World, right? And that's where the Native Americans came from. They were descendants. And it gets into more detail than that, some battles and stuff. But basically, that's where the Native Americans came from, that they were part of the missing tribes of Israel. And Joseph Smith claimed that, he saw these gold tablets and they, told him all this information. Well, Joseph Smith's family The Smiths were con artists. They did a lot to kind of trick people, and they were they weren't the pillars of society, which is okay. God uses people in very mysterious ways. That's just kind of where he was coming from. Now, this theory of the Native Americans coming from Israel wasn't uncommon at that time. That was a theory that, I think a lot of people were trying to, this was the 1800s, they were trying to figure out, justify like where these people were from. And so they just assumed they might have been part of the Muslim tribes of Israel. That wasn't just a Mormon thing at that time. Only Joseph Smith went through a whole book around it. Well, for those who know anything about Mormonism, it's steeped in Freemasonry. There's a lot of symbolism in their temples and their how they go about their worship that is Freemason. It's Freemason. So I've never been in a Mormon temple or seen a Mormon ceremony, but I just know from research that's just, and Joseph Smith was a Freemason. Down to the magic underwear, everything was coming from this Freemasonry. So I started to think about, well, I wonder if maybe there were people that came here from that wherever, and they were Canaanite. I wonder if there may be some truth to this, but not necessarily Israeli. And we know from DNA of Native Americans that they don't connect to Israel. They have totally different DNA. But then again, as I said, we know there were people here before that. We also know this to be true with Africans, that there were Africans that continent before. There's Native American tribes that have, and so we know that some of the Africans over with the trade, some of them weren't. Some of them were here covered as well. So this is not a far.
Now look, check this out. Now we get showed the Yamasee. Just check on this, right? We're going to check. And a stupid nigga asked me, why would I use this source right here with the Yamasees, right? Because I'm not a stupid nigga. I know how to dodge the information, right? This is once again, this is from the 57th Congressional House of Representatives, 1901, right? So I ain't gonna read the whole thing, but they talk about the mayor of Beaufort County. So the town's remarkable good. Boom, we go past that. But nonetheless, though, it says right here in this book, Human Race and Assertions, the fact that Africans lived in these islands long before the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. So now, check this out. He is a high authority, and he says that the Yamasee Indians were Negroes, what was known afterwards as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South, is saying the well-known Yamasee Indians was African. Don't believe that. Because these people don't know where the fuck they came from. And the whole African mind state of all black people came from Africa came from them. They painted that picture and they know what they doing. They know that they created that whole narrative that everybody that's off of the continent of Africa came from Africa. That's all bullshit. So at least one thing he said about in this article, that the Yamasees was here before Columbus. Okay? Now check this out, right? Already showed you some images, right, of a painting that they had. This is the Yamasee War. Negroes, right? They go on a war with these people, which this could just be some shit that they drew up, or the shit can be real, right? Like I just said, they could use these people, the European Slavics, saying they wanted to get their freedom. These might be the prisoners that they sent here to try to overthrow these colonies or to overthrow our nations, and told these people that if they came here and took over the land, they could live on the land. You understand? And they can be free. So this is the reason, and this is being done by Nick. So you got black people using white people saying, well, if y'all want to be free, you gonna go over there and fight against these so-called Negro nations and make them convert to Christianity, right? So here go other images of around South Carolina, what the people look like, right? Now, according to um Well, she gets said that the Yama no that the Timucua was in South Carolina, right? Check this out. So what Timucuans look like, right? But then when we go into their history, it's pretty much saying the same goddamn thing, or not even reference to what they saying. It's pretty much saying the same goddamn thing. Okay, right here, boom. Talk about the young, powerful man in dark brown liqueur, period, whatever. On the tortoiseshell, present the casual and smooth. The Colombian emerald level is not a resident of Africa, but an Indian. Although facial features and skin colors are of a black African, but the body tattoos and ideological exactly represents him as well as a native of Florida. Okay, so now we got and check this out. Boom. Now the cross reference with we gonna go here. Let's establish this fact. Where the Timucuans was at? The Timucuan people of St. Augustine, right? This is what they saying. So the Timucuan people was already in St. Augustine. So let's go to the Yamasee. Well, this one is saying that the Yamasees was already in Florida in 1867, and they decided to disband from Florida and move further north, right? Ayaka. Wow, that's interesting. I'll get to that another time, though. But hold up. Nah, it was this one. My bad. All right, boom. We go back here. Is now look. They saying that Yamasees have always been ethically mixed. Now check this shit out, right? The reason they saying they've been ethically mixed is because now what they saying is that the Yamasee Indians and African slaves went into where? St. Augustine, right? Now check this out. They already said that the Yamasees was Negroes and they was Negro Indians, right? But then they try to say that shit, the Yamasee took the so called Negro slaves into St. Augustine. Now check this out. Look, it said most of the rest joined the Appalachian Refuge, moved to the vicinity of where? Now this is in 1758. I mean 1715. My bad. I don't know why the fuck I said 1758. I'm trying to highlight it, but I can't. But to the vicinity of St. Augustine. Okay? It said despite. Oh, fuck. I ain't even trying to do that. My bad. Alright, hold up. Where the fuck was I at? I'm sorry, y'all. That shit just threw me all off. All right, so it's saying by the summer of 1715, despite several attempts to make peace, both the South Carolina and the Yamasee individuals conflict between the two continued for decades. The Yamasee of Spanish Florida were in time weakened by disease and other factors. Do you believe this? Look, this here, here's the story. The survivors became part of the Seminoles. Huh? The survivors became part of the Seminoles. So the Yamasees, who was already Negroes, right, who we can prove, right, they went into a part of St. Augustine where we see, according to this research right here, right, it's saying, guess who was there? The Timucuans, right? But the Timucuans, we got another dilemma here, right? Because the Timucuans also are Negroes. This is what I'm trying to say. Like when you read articles, you cannot read these fucking articles and take everything that they say in face value. Because you'll read an article where it tell you, oh, the Yamasees and African slaves went into St. Augustine and joined there and became the Seminoles. So what about the Timucua who was already there, who was Negroes too? What about them? That's what I'm saying. Don't none of this shit make no sense when you really do the real research to it. And a lot of these niggas who be regurgitating a lot of this information that they get from the general education system, in which one thing I definitely agree with the lady on, she said in the beginning that the education system that betrayed all of us. And then we find out the education system is made by the same people who went where? To Jekyll Island. They said that they had hunting parties for dogs. Oh yeah, I bet they did. because they was killing off the Aborigines of that land. All of these motherfuckers is the same goddamn tribe. Once again, we go back to what she said. Now, I'm just saying now, if, think of it like this, right? Make some sense of it. They don't tell you it was Negroes here, but yeah, all of these white people know. Among their talking groups, they know we was already here. But then guess what happens? You get your own Negroes who swear to be so sourced up and so scholarly, right? Which, remember, a scholar ain't nothing but a student being taught by a teacher. A scholar is anybody who just being taught something, right? So they pull up these articles, this frivolous shit. Well, we find so many different sources that's telling you that we've been here. Now, to go along with the artifacts, right? To go along with the artifacts, right? And we can also look the map that they laid out for us. We got the same headdress on. Boom. This is a map of where? Look. And it say the Duke of Beaufort, right? You can't make this shit up, y'all. You can't. Look, proprietors of Carolina in America, right? So this is a map, right? Look, got the same goddamn headdress on. Look, boom. But this is what they really. This is what we really look like. But this is what we really look like. So when these niggas tell you to source up, and they don't know how to decipher shit or cross-reference shit, or you know what I'm saying, or use common sense when it comes to shit, right? Then, like I said, a lot of these dudes, I'm not going to even be conversating with no longer, because all that shit doing is dead in my information down. If you don't believe it, then go somewhere else with people where people believe the rhetoric in which you teaching. Now I know how many people we got in the chat room. Let me see what we got going on up in here, right? It's 204 people in here. Now I say out of 204, maybe 20 of them could be Pan-Africans, on a low or whatever. But the other 184 people that's probably in here are Aborigines. Now I know goddamn well. Of course, do you niggas believe y'all was mixed with African? When all of the people, okay, so you got Africans here, right? According to what they saying, or black people, right? That's in the same areas where they claiming that they bought these African slaves at. They always in the same area, whether it's Virginia, Maryland, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee. They are all in these same areas where they claim they bought these slaves at. So you find Negroes in the same area where they claim they bought slaves at, right? But then at the same token, they say, oh, well, yeah, they did bring some Negroes there where other Negroes was at. And now, in 2023, the other Negroes who was really Aborigines are now being classified as African. Because eugenics came up with the whole terminology to say every black person on the planet came from Africa. That's what the Eugenics Society started up. And the lady kept saying one thing, and like I said, certain things she said I definitely agree with. Let me just go back, because I'm about to I gotta go pick my daughter up. So, alright, so right here, look, let's listen to it again.
There may be some truth to this, but not necessarily Israeli. And we know from testing DNA of Native Americans that they don't connect to Israel. They have totally different DNA. But then again, as I said, we know there were people here before them. We also know this to be true with African Americans, that there were Africans that discovered this continent before Christopher Columbus. There's some Native American tribes that have African in them. And so we know that some of the African community we have in America weren't necessarily, a lot of them were brought over with the slave trade, but some of them weren't. Some of them were here before the Europeans got here and discovered this land as well. So this is not a far-fetched idea that Canaanites came here.
Now she's saying Africans are Canaanites. She's saying we're black, but this culture have always been here. The people that they call Africans are Atanchans and Aborigines that always been here. And under these people's pseudoscience, they're trying to make you believe every black person that came. Every black person in every place outside of Africa came from Africa. This is all a eugenics operation that was created by them. She was saying, so it was two people here before the Native American. When did the Native American get here? 11, 12,000 years ago, according to them. We don't even believe that. Okay, but according to them, they saying that the people from the Bering Strait came here over 12,000 years ago. She said it was people here that was here before them. The evidence, James Chatter, Richard Neves, all of these other books, all these other sources, it's saying the same goddamn thing. But you got niggas who will step up and try to debate this shit individually. She's saying that the Aborigines that was here. So where did the Aborigines go? If they wasn't Indians, the Africans that came here, that was here before the Native Americans, what was they doing when? What is their different culture than the Native Americans? The shit that we see right now is what our fucking culture is. Because these people ain't got no problem with telling you that it was two people here and they separate the Native Americans from from the other person or the other group or ethnic or races that was already here. So like I said, man, look, man, the gig is up. The gig been up. You niggas can keep on trying to debate this nonsense. It only shows me how ridiculous and how retarded you are. Because once again, I don't have to go off of no. I don't have to use. I can use scholarship where I'm cross-referencing and deciphering stuff and bringing the shit back and making sense of it. Now we covered this, man. Before I get out of here, right? We covered. We showed you that the Yamasee and the Gulllah, right, was they was and they the same fucking people. I don't know what to tell you because at the end of the day, let me see something. It's this one right here. Hold up. Well, no, that's the Gullah. Hold up. All right, so boom. Look, the Gullah Geechee people, right? Now look, are we stupid? Check this out. The Gullah Geechee people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved on the rice and indigo and the Sea Islands, right? The Sea Island cotton plantation in the lower Atlantic coast, right? So now check this out, right? So now wait a minute. So these people, the Gullah, because there's really no history on this shit. When you look into the Gullah, there's really no history on them. The history is the Guale. This is the history right here. Look, this is the history right here. Now look, check this out. Listen to this, niggas who don't know how to fucking do research. Listen to this. Who don't know how to use fucking common sense, right? So check this out. The Guale, Native American. Now she's saying that they ain't Native American, but here go another source that if you read this, it will mislead you as well. But check this out, right? Look, Native American chieftain along the coast of present day Georgia and the Sea Islands. Now, where's the Sea Islands at again? Let's see something. Boom. Well, where's one of the Sea Islands at? Let's go back out real quick. We already know. Look, Jekyll Island is located off the coast of the United States, Georgia, and Glenn County is one of the Sea Islands of the Golden Isles of Georgia Barrier Island. Okay, so now hold up. So wait a minute. So all right, Jekyll Island, they said the Timucua was there, but they also saying in this same other article right here, look, that the Gitche Gullah people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved in the rice and indigo and Sea Islands. It's saying cotton plantation in the lower Atlantic coast, meaning in that same fucking area where these people was at. The Gullah, Native American chiefdom along the coast of present-day Georgia and the Sea Islands. Now, how likely would this fucking name right here, how likely these are not the same fucking people, man? How likely Gulllah and Guale is not the same goddamn fucking people, my dude? Somebody please tell me. Now listen to this, right? Check this out. It gets even better, right? Listen to what they say. It says the Spanish Florida established its Roman missionaries. Now we already know the Guale went into Spain, went into Saint Augustine to join with the Timucua. But the Timucua was also on the islands, on the sea islands, right? The Timucua was also on the sea islands, right? Now check this out. It's saying achieved in the late 16th century. During the late 17th century and early 18th century, the Gulllah civilization was shattered from an extensive epidemic of a new infectious disease and warfare from other tribes. So you believe this? So do you believe that? So they die, right? So they die, and then next thing you know, oh, we got some people from Angola, right? Look, so the Gullah Geechee people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved on the rice and indigo and sea islands. Now look, boom. But the mayor of Beaufort County, that's in South Carolina, said that um he's saying that the more peculiar thing is the fact that Africans lived on these islands long before the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. He is the high authority, and he said that the Yamasee Indians was Negro. So if the Yamasee Indians was here before 1492, right, then that means that the Gulla who lived right along them was also Negroes, as well as we already know what the Timucua looked like. We already know what the Timucua looked like. That's what made them, if you believe it, because now I'm starting to think that according to what we reading here, check this out, right? According to what we reading here is that the Yamasee just went to St. Augustine, probably in the late 1800s. This shit happened in the late 1800s. These stories that they telling you from 1565 and all this other goofy shit, bro. How ironic is that? So you got the Gullah Geechee people who lived. You got the Gullah Geechee people who are descendants of Africans who lived on the, and they had rice. Now wait a minute, hold up. In this article right here, look. Let me see something real quick. It's in this article right here. Let me show you something. Boom. It's going to tell you that the Yamasees had rice plantations. Look, check this out. Let me see something real quick. That's one of four. Is it this one? Let me see. I think it might be this one. It said committed differ as well. Fact it included that the encroachment by Europeans in the trading system, which that's our trading system, nigga. The trading abuses of Indian slave trade, which is our, they're lying about that shit too. The depletion of deers and increasing Indian debt, in contrast to increasing wealth among some colonists, the spread of rice plantations and agriculture, and French power in Louisiana offering alternative British trade, long existent Indian links to Spanish Florida. So look, let's see something else. So look, all right, so it said with demands for deer skin rising over and whatever. I don't need to go all into that shit again, right? So the Yamasee territory, in addition, after the Tuscarora War, the Yamasee found slaves raiding opportunities to be limited. It said the Yamasee became increasingly indebted. Listen, trust and believe the Yamasees wasn't selling nothing or didn't have to work for no foreigner that came here. They're lying even about this. I'm just trying to show you that the Yamasees had a connection to rice before any Africans even came, or before that whole story was created, right? Now check this out. This is how these people slip up when they're giving you information, right? It's saying who supplied them with trade. It's saying good on credit, right? What did we need from them? You tell me. That's how you know that they lying. It's saying by 1715, right? This is the same year of the war, right? Rice plantations begin to thrive in South Carolina and could be exported as a commodity or crop. So, okay. So if the rice plantation started to thrive, you mean tell me they came here and bought rice and made plantation? Do you know how rice grow? Rice grow underwater in marshy water. And rice is like a fucking a stalk and shit. We didn't talked about that shit. Nonetheless though, but look, you can catch these motherfuckers lying. These are some lying motherfuckers, man. Like it's like the gig is up, and then these other clowns that run around here and be out here talking this goofiness or whatever. Like I said, at the end of the day, look, and we go back here. Let me see something real quick. So the Gitchigala people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved on rice. Now look, so in the same area where they had the rice plantations at, the Yamasee was there, right? But in the same breath, oh shit, the Yamasees are a mixed race, right? But which the mayor is clearly saying that they Negroes, and everybody else is saying they Negroes, and all of the images and all of the evidence shows that they're Negroes. This this you can say whatever you want to say. Oh, this is some pseudo. Nah, nigga, this is how you do real research. Cause the research you showed me, I damn sure don't fucking believe. Okay. All right, so these people who was already Negroes with the Gulllah, right? Now, once again, they telling you that the Gulllah, right? The Gulllah and Guale, Guale, Gulllah, the same fucking people, man. It's the same fucking people. Look, check this out. Let's see something else. There was something on here that I wanted to see. Oh, I think it's down at the end. Nah, it's not right there. All right, so hold up. Let me see. I think it might be right here. Nah, but this talks about around 1684, one small group of Yamasee Gullah refugees led by Chief Atamaha moved north. Now remember, Atamaha is an area in Florida, right? Check this out. I think it's on this map too. Oh no, you know what? I got another map. Wait, I got another one right here. Let me see. On this one and on this one. I think it's not that one. This one. Well, actually, it's the same fucking map. Let me see something. But Altaha is on here as well. It's down. Let me see something. It's down this area. I can't find that fucking map. My bad, peoples, man. But nonetheless, though, man, let's continue. Let's get through this shit. Um. So I don't know. Are we clear? Do anybody see any remnants among the Gitche, the Gulllah, the Yamasee, and the Timucua? Do anybody see any remnants of them? I'm talking to y'all in the chat room. Mic check. Peoples, I'm talking to y'all. I don't see nobody typing them with the screen that froze. Let me see. I don't know, like it froze up. Alright, so y'all understand, right? They the same fucking people, nigga. And look, and they use this motherfucking demon, Queen Quet, right? She ain't nothing but a fucking agent, bro. Because they went in there with that narrative, teaching them, talking about they Africans and all this, that, and the third, or whatever. And then they go back. She went back and told these people, and I've spoken to people in South Carolina who told me that they never heard of no African shit ever, and they told me that they Indians. So it's like, which one is it? Okay, so Africans came to an area where there was already so-called black Indians at, and then these Africans mixed with other Africans. Get the fuck out of here, my dude. This shit, like I said, man. And then people believe this stuff. The Gulllah is coming from Angola. So where do Guale come from? Where do Guale? And the Gulllah people was living in the same area, so they killed them off. And then these people came around later on, a Gulllah, Or would these people be in the same area where the so-called Gulle was at? And why didn't they die off? Why so boom? Why didn't they die off in the 17th and early 18th century? Why did these people die off too? The Gulla people, Gulla Geechee people who was in the same fucking area, the Sea Islands, nigga. The Sea Islands is all of that shit that I just showed y'all. Says Sea Islands, right? Right? She said the Timucuans was where? In the Sea Islands, right? As well as in Florida. So like I said, man, you can't read a whole article like this and take the but it says this right here. Well, guess what? That part right there, because I'm referencing the article that I'm cross-referencing other research, right? And check this out. Look, so it says, all right, so the Gole society was shattered from extensive epidemics and new infectious diseases, right? And warfare from other tribes. Some of them surviving remnants migrated to the mission area of Spanish Florida, while others remain near Georgia coast, right? Now look, while others remain near Georgia coast, right? The fuck is this, man? Let me see something real quick. While others remain near the Georgian coast, right? So these people who we already know that these is Negroes, right? These are the descendants that remained around the coast of that stayed around the Sea Islands. These are the descendants of them. But these people is telling you that they're Africans, right? And look, another important fact, right? It's saying joining the other survivors, look, they became known as the Yamasee. Look, they became known as the Yamasee. So the Gulla, right, became the Yamasee or the Yamasee, and then the Yamasee, right? They gonna tell you. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can find it. It's in here because they got the Timucua shit all up in here, man. Let me see. I can't even find the part right here, but you guys already have seen it before. The Yamasee became the Seminole. Yo, these niggas got us all fucked up with this bullshit ass fucking history, right? They got us all fucked up, bro. Like real talk, bro. None of these articles cross reference are the same. None of them have the same information. I don't care where they came from. I don't care if they came from a college. I don't care if they came from a university. I don't care if this motherfucker is a prestigious historian. I don't care who's telling the story. None of these stories, even the information that they got, none of this shit is absolute or precise. So it's 2:30. I'll pick my daughter up in 5 minutes, man. So man, peace to the tribe, man. Peace to the Aborigines, man. Peace to the gods. Peace to the goddesses, man. Look, man. Shout out to my brother, nonetheless, man. We still going over a fucking crime scene. And it's like at the end of the day, by us having interactions with people who are non-believers, who are docile and easily be taught and easily be led in the wrong direction or whatever, a lot of these conversations need to come to a cease, man, because a lot of these people are just stuck on stupid. And even when they do say black people was here, then now it's a mysterious looking black person that we never seen that wouldn't even be classified as colored and still would be us by default even today, right? So it's like, some of the ridiculous stories that I hear that come out these people's mouths or whatever. And once again, I say that and I put emphasis on that article in which it does says that the Yamasee are Africans, right? It does say the Yamasee are Africans, right? But it says they lived in these islands long before the discovery of Christopher Columbus, nigga. So if they lived in all of them islands, the people who the Gulla, who the Gulla became the Yamasees. Look, man, I'm out of here. I'm done, man. This shit right here is ridiculous, man. Peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Like y'all already see what it is, man. And if you don't see what it is, like I said, do not believe a lot of this history and take it verbatim. Find out the reference point of information and contentions that you can substantiate. Because, like I said, you know, the Gulla is telling people that they came from Africa, right? And other niggas are saying they came from Africa, but the Gulla became the Yamasee, so the Gulla had to be black too. They had to be Negroes too. Like, you know, so it's like, you know, then the Gulla and the Yamasee went into St. Augustine where it was occupied by the Timucua. But yo, wait a minute. But the Timucua was in the Sea Islands too. So what would be the likelihood that the Timucua, the Gulla, the Gitche, the Yamasee, the Tuscarora, they all the same motherfucker? They ain't nothing but Muskegon. That's all they is. Muskegon. And you see Muskegon tribes all the way out in Oklahoma. You see that shit in Sir Solomon Jones film that they calling all of these areas and towns in Oklahoma Muskegee or Oak or Omago or Omago I'm sorry, or Omagee. The same area that they saying that's down where they got the word Geechee from, the Omageechee or the Ogamichi. It's the same fucking word. It's the same fucking word, man. So, you know, peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses, man. I got a bunch of other shit on deck that I'm gonna be doing builds on. Definitely try to get back to some of the information and try to make some contention points that people can make reference and people can expand their research and come to some idea or understanding to why these people lying. You know, the lady went into that dealing with Jekyll Island. She gave some references dealing with Jekyll Island that will make you kind of understand exactly. We don't know the severity of why they actually went to Jekyll Island and allow these other Negroes to live on these other places, but she did say that Jekyll Island for the Timucua was like Washington D.C., nigga. So that means that had to be a special place, or that had to be a meetup spot, or that had to be a spot that was very imperative to the nations here today. So peace to the guys, man. Peace to the goddesses. Let me see what y'all saying. And then you got Miami. Like I said, all this shit connect, man. All of it connect. I'm sorry. My people from Florida. My people from Florida and Georgia. So it's like, I mean, that's on my father's side. My mother's side is from Virginia. And then on my other mother's side, my family from Alabama. So it's like, you know, at the end of the day, man, you know, do your research. Don't let none of these people lie to you. Don't let none of these people tell you who you not. You know what I'm saying? We didn't cross reference it. Just hey, look, real quick before I get out of here, because I just want to see whether or not I landed my plane properly. Right? Press one if you subscribe or if you understood just what I just the display that I just put out there, showing you how the Gulle and Gulla has to be the same people, along with the Yamasees and the Timucua. Are we kind of clear on that? Press one if you agree. Press two if you disagree. All right, that's all I wanted, man. Just for people to. So when these people throw all these different, oh, the Gala is ran by Queen Quez, a fucking agent, bro. She's a fucking agent. She know if the mayor in 1901 know that in the islands was already Negroes there, then what is the likelihood that she fucking know that? What is the likelihood that she know that as well? The European lady just said, and she said that to basically. See, my man, if my man would have went in and be like, wait a minute, so it was Africans already in South Carolina. The article I read just said it was Africans in South Carolina, or they're not Africans, but what these people deem or confuse us and tell us that we're African. When we are Atachans and Atachans to this land, and we ain't never come from nowhere. That's just their way of covering up that it was already Negroes here, and they never want the Negroes here that they classify as African American, Black, Negro, colored, to ever know who they really are and know what their ancestors actually really did. So with that being said, man, peace to the gods. Peace to the goddesses, man. It's your humble brother A1, aka Ahanu Kiel. And like I said, I will be back and we will be doing more builds. I got a bunch of shit on deck. Um, Definitely, man. Thanks for the support. Thanks for everybody coming through. But the most important part is that you guys know who y'all are. because that was my main goal of putting any of this information out, was for us to recognize who the fuck we are and that we was here already, and to tear down the fact that these people saying Africans come here. Because if we didn't find evidence that the Yamasee was already here, then they gonna keep on saying that the Yamasees came over, and then they gonna lump them up with the Gulllah, Geechee, with Queen Quet, and all that other shit. When we already know that that's a goddamn lie. Because the Timucuans are Negroes, the Yamasees are Negroes. Like what are we doing here? We playing. This is like some first grade education. If we can't connect the two and say, wait a minute, these people all living amongst each other. They all living amongst each other. So with that being said, man, peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses, man. Peace to the Aborigines, North, South, Central, as well as the conjoining islands, man. It's your brother A1, aka Hano Kiel, and peace. We out of here.